Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Dragon Ball. Sign in, obtain the immortal body at the beginning. Chapter 21. Seeing this, Li Shu felt so tired, and his rhinology skills were simply outrageous. 80% of rhinology is particularly unreliable when you look at the name. How did I forget this? Li Shu's heart suddenly moved, and in his backhand, a bottle of golden potion appeared in his hand. Super Blessing Potion. Within 1 minute, your luck will be greatly improved. Li Shu didn't say a word, and dried it in one bite. The taste was not bad, a bit of iced tea, but other than that, he didn't feel any other changes. It's over. Li Shu suddenly thought of one thing: the last time he awakened the pupil technique, he was in a coma for a month. Thinking of this, Li Shu hurriedly took a fairy bean in his mouth, and when he was a little surprised, he swallowed it immediately. All the rhinestones have been browsed, and the lottery begins. Ding! Congratulations, you have obtained the nose of battle. It's a thrilling lottery. Li Shu let out a long breath, and his hanging heart finally let go. Well, soon he reacted, the nose of the fight. The eye of war. Could it be that a set of skills is not successful? Without giving Li Shu too much time to think, a sharp pain came from his nose, but fortunately, he was prepared and immediately swallowed the fairy bean. I have to admire the magic of fairy beans. The feeling of severe pain is gone in an instant. Li Shu was completely relieved. He kept shaking the tip of his nose, wanting to try what was so special about this nose of fighting. Like Eye of Battle, Nose of Battle does not have any descriptive information, and it is all up to you to figure it out. However, the tip of Li Shu's nose was sour, and he didn't feel anything special, and even his basic sense of smell didn't improve. Isn't it? It's even worse than Eye of Battle. Such a result made Li Shu speechless. At the very least, the Eye of Fighting can still see the combat effectiveness, and this Nose of Fighting is really useless. It's not as good as rhinitis, Li Shu thought. At this moment, Kling won the game and returned to the waiting area in high spirits. Congratulations to Klin, you've made it to the final 4. Wukong jumped up and hugged Klin, and Klin smiled. It's thanks to brother Li Shu, otherwise I wouldn't be able to beat that barbarian. By the way, brother Li Shu, that old man Cheng Long seems to be quite powerful, but I seem to have discovered his weakness. Kling whispered. Li Shu pretended to be surprised and looked at Klin, but did not tell Cheng Long that he was a turtle immortal. Kling secretly glanced around, took out a pair of women's underwear out of nowhere, quickly handed it to Li Shu, and said with a smile, "You can use this to lure him then." Li Shu was taken aback, hurriedly took the briefs, looked around from time to time, and hurriedly put them away. After a while, the referee's voice sounded. "Please Cheng Long and Li Shu come to the stage." "Come on, big brother." Goku and Kling shouted at the same time. Li Shu nodded noncommittally, and then stepped into the ring, looking at his opponent, the Turtle Immortal. The referee and host quickly completed the introduction of the two and announced the start of the game. However, at the sound of an order, neither Li Shu nor the Turtle Immortal moved. They all stood on the stage casually, staring at each other. This strange behavior made the audience talk a lot. "What are they doing here? Why don't you fight?" Wukong said, puzzled. Kling also said he couldn't understand and shook his head. This stumped the host, who was about to comment, so he had to make up nonsense. "What?" Cheng Long and Li Shu chose the same tactics. "If the enemy doesn't move, I won't move." It seems that they are all waiting for the opponent to strike first, so as to find the opponent's flaws. It's a master duel, just standing still. It's so exciting, it's really exciting. Looking at the motionless Turtle Immortal, Li Shu's expression was extremely serious, and he did not act rashly, but silently improved his combat effectiveness. Do you spend 4 achievements to upgrade Endless Dinosaur Legs LV2 to Endless Dinosaur Legs LV3? 95% success rate. Yes, ascending. Congratulations, the promotion failed. The corners of Li Shu's mouth twitched, and he said in his heart, "Continue to improve." On the side of the Turtle Immortal, he frowned, and found that this kid was not fooled, so he had to take the lead in attacking. The host hurriedly yelled, "It's gone." Cheng Long actually disappeared. What a speed! And Li Shu is still standing in place, without any reaction at all. Is this game about to end? Quote. Found it. Cheng Long actually jumped into the sky, and Li Shu still didn't have any reaction at the moment. As far as I know, Li Shu showed amazing speed in the preliminaries, and he is extremely good at breaking with static and taking the lead in the rear. Can he dodge Cheng Long's move? Li Shu sighed. The turtle immortal had only confronted him for a few seconds, which was only enough for him to improve twice. What saddened him was that with a 95% success rate, he actually failed in a row. The 8 achievement points are gone. What an abomination. Li Shu hurriedly gathered his mind and concentrated on the duel. The moment the turtle immortal appeared above him, the tip of his nose subconsciously moved. The amplitude was very small. If he didn't stare carefully, it would be difficult for anyone to find out. Li Shu noticed a hint of something unusual. He actually smelled a dangerous smell coming from above. You can even judge the distance of this dangerous aura. Is this the nose of fighting? Nose. I misunderstood you. Li Shu was overjoyed at once. He could sense the dangerous aura in advance, and even judge the time when the danger was coming by judging the distance of the dangerous aura. This is simply a divine skill. With this magic skill, as long as he is not distracted, the gap between the combat power of the two sides is not too big, and the body can respond at the moment of danger. Then he can be invincible. And there is also the killer feature of underwear. Isn't the old pervert of the turtle fairy at my disposal? At this moment, Li Shu was full of confidence, and while rushing forward to dodge the attack, he distanced himself from the turtle immortal, silently calculating the timing of the killer in his heart. Young man, you can't just hide. After the turtle immortal finished speaking, he saw that his body shook, leaving an afterimage in place, and his true body had already rushed in front of Li Shu and punched him. Afterimage punch. Li Shu recognized it at a glance, and he would do the same with this trick. When he was in Baozi Mountain, Sun Wuhan taught him. The key to this move is to influence the opponent's judgment through the afterimage. As long as the opponent's reaction is a few tenths of a second slower, it will reveal a huge flaw and give the attacker an advantage. However, this trick was useless to Li Shu, and he also left an afterimage in place, once again distancing himself from the turtle immortal. The turtle immortal punched the air, and the action did not stop because of this. He seemed to have expected it a long time ago, and his body left an afterimage in a flash, and his real body went straight to Li Shu, and he didn't intend to give Li Shu any respite. Although Li Shu's speed is very fast, compared to him, it is still 3 points behind. In an instant, the turtle immortal rushed in front of Li Shu, and the whole person was immediately divided into 5, and launched an attack from 5 directions, either punching, palming, kicking, or kicking. The tip of Li Shu's nose moved slightly, and he instantly realized that the 5 attacks in front of him were just afterimages, and the real offensive came from above. Immediately, the left foot stepped suddenly, and the right foot borrowed the force to directly kick a 90-degree ultra-difficult action on the spot. What? The turtle immortal who kicked in the air was suddenly taken aback. Even if Li Shu also mastered the afterimage fist, he could instantly recognize his afterimage, but it was impossible to find his specific location in an instant. And he responded so decisively. The action was exaggerated, the amplitude was so large, and the attack was so swift, as if it was determined that he would appear in this position, leaving no room for himself to be buffered, as if he had eyes on the top of his head. What a terrible fighting instinct. Bang! There was a muffled sound. The two kicked each other with their feet, and the turtle immortal's eyes widened suddenly, wondering if he had seen it wrong. Just at that moment, he seemed to see Li Shu's right leg turned into a dinosaur leg. And a roasted dinosaur leg. At the same time, a majestic force swept up from the soles of his feet, instantly spreading all over his body, and a touch of pain appeared on the face of the turtle immortal, and the whole person rose into the sky like a cannonball under the huge impact. When the host saw such a wonderful scene, he immediately shouted. What? Cheng Long is from top to bottom, Li Shu is from bottom to top. It seems that Cheng Long has the advantage, but the result is that Cheng Long is top down, and he was kicked away by Li Shu from the bottom up. What a great matchup. With such a high altitude, can Cheng Long land smoothly? Let's wait and see. The host took the microphone and spat and looked at the sky with an exaggerated expression. The audience was also deeply attracted by this wonderful duel and looked up at the sky. I want to know how this Cheng Long player should deal with this crisis. Look, everyone. The host seemed to have discovered something terrible, and shouted excitedly. The angle at which Cheng Long fell seems to be facing the outside of the field. Even if it lands successfully, it will be judged to lose because it goes out of bounds. Is this the end of this wonderful showdown? Let's cheer for Cheng Long. It's really noisy. Li Shu looked at the host very unpleasantly, and then squinted at the turtle immortal who was in freefall in the sky, and suddenly had a plan. He never believed that the turtle immortal would be defeated by his own kick. He must be pretending again. He knew too well the urine nature of the turtle immortal. This is a great opportunity. Li Shu didn't have full confidence to defeat the turtle immortal head-on. After all, the difference in combat strength between the two was more than 20 points, and the turtle immortal's combat experience was more than 100 years richer than his own, and he was also known as the great martial arts master of the god of martial arts. If he really gets serious, not to mention winning or losing, it will definitely be a vicious battle, and he will inevitably be beaten in many places. He is really scared, and there is a high probability that he will lose in the end. The current situation is very good. The turtle immortal was negligent and was kicked by himself, which allowed him to take the lead. It was a rare opportunity, and he had to seize it. Take advantage of the victory to chase and take down the turtle immortal in one fell swoop, and don't let him show his full strength. Li Shu's brain was spinning, and he instantly thought of a plan and buttoned his strawberry panties in the palm of his hand. The turtle immortal doesn't know how to dance the sky yet, and if he wants not to fall off the field, he has only one choice. Seeing that the turtle immortal was about to fall off the field, although some people thought that he was going to lose, the turtle immortal put his hands against each other in the shape of a calyx, and then pulled it to his waist, and a blue light converged into a ball of light in the palms of both hands. Turtle, Pi, Chi, Gong. The turtle immortal let out a low shout, wanting to use the impetus of the turtle sect Qigong to change the position where he landed. Now is the time. Li Shu saw the opportunity and threw out the strawberry panties that were buttoned in the palm of his hand. Oh Omega Oh! Nani! The momentum of the turtle immortal suddenly leaked by more than half, and his eyes couldn't help but look over. At the same time, Li Shu grinned. His hands were also pressed against each other in the shape of calyxes, and then pulled to his waist, and a stream of blue energy quickly converged in the palms of his hands. Turtle, Pi, quote, exclamation mark, gas, gong. As the accumulation was completed, Li Shu aimed at the turtle immortal and pushed forward with both hands. Pillars of blue energy surge out. What? The turtle immortal looked at it suddenly, and suddenly his color changed in shock. His face was full of disbelief. He couldn't understand how Li Shu could use his own trick. He had never shown it in front of Li Shu. In fact, Li Shu had already forgotten about this turtle school Qigong and just now remembered that he would also use this trick. At the moment when he was hit by the turtle sect Qigong, the turtle immortal's heart was full of chagrin and remorse, and he sat under the ring with a confused face. His original intention was to use the pseudonym Cheng Long to add a little difficulty to the Wukong and the three of them to prevent them from winning the championship, not wanting them to be too proud, but he didn't expect the boat to capsize in the gutter. Congratulations, you have achieved the achievement, Turtle Immortal Overturned Scene, Reward Charged Buff Achievement Value +3. Quote. Charge buff increases charge speed by 10%. Li Shu was a little surprised. He didn't expect that there would be an achievement reward in this way, so he hurriedly recorded this. The sound of the system does not stop because of this. Congratulations, you have obtained the achievement, 9 consecutive victories in the 21st Martial Arts Conference, rewarded with 2 bottles of Blessing Potion and achievement points +5. Congratulations, you have obtained the achievement, top 4 players of the 21st Martial Arts Conference, and you will be rewarded with a bottle of Super Blessing Potion and an achievement value of +5. 3 consecutive achievement rewards have brought Li Shu's achievement value to a new height of 28 points. Meanwhile, the presenter umpire referee declared Li Shu the winner. With the cheers of Goku and Klin, Li Shu returned to the lounge. Big brother, what kind of trick is your blue light wave? It looks amazing, can you teach me after the game? Sun Wukong asked hopefully. Of course it's no problem, Li Shu didn't refuse. This was originally a skill that Wukong wanted to master, and whoever taught it was the same. 10 minutes later, the third matchup Lan Feng vs Nan Wu officially began. Li Shu looked at Nan Wu thoughtfully. This man who looked like Ah San, he had a little impression, as if his hometown was short of water, and he wanted to win a prize to improve the water situation in his hometown. Maybe this can be an achievement. After this game, Li Shu decided to give it a try. At this moment, the turtle immortal with the pseudonym Cheng Long found him with a serious face. Looking at Cheng Long with a serious face, Without waiting for the other party to speak, Li Shu smiled and said, Teacher Wushan, I'm embarrassed just now, I won't win if you don't win, you won't win if you don't win. The turtle immortal was speechless for a moment, and said, so you have already seen it. Wukong and Klin, who were next to them, were watching the game with relish, and when they heard this, they turned their heads in surprise and looked at Cheng Long incredulously. At this moment, there was no need for the turtle immortal to hide it, so he took off his disguise. Wukong, Klin, you guys concentrate on watching the game, I'll talk to Li Shu alone. The turtle immortal took Li Shu to a place where there was no one on the side, and said the purpose of his disguise. To sum it up in one sentence, to prevent Goku from winning the championship, you can't be too proud at a young age, and it takes a certain amount of setbacks. Li Shu, you are much older than Wukong and Klin, you should understand this truth, since I have failed, I hope to entrust this important task to you. Li Shu was overjoyed in his heart, isn't this an achievement sent to the door? There is no reason to refuse. Regardless of whether you can beat Wukong or not, let's talk about the task first, there must be a road before the car reaches the mountain. Don't worry, Teacher Wushan, leave this to me. Li Shu agreed. The system's prompt sound is coming. Trigger the achievement quest. Don't be arrogant or discouraged. At the 21st Martial Arts Conference, defeat Sun Wukong head-on. Reward. Heart of Battle. Quote. The heart of the fight. Li Shu was taken aback. Following Eye of Fighting and Nose of Fighting, there is another fighting skill. It seems that this is really a set of skills. If you collect all the fighting skills, I wonder if there will be any set effect. Or is it an achievement? According to the laws of the system, there should be a great possibility. It seems that this number 1 must be fought for. Li Shu's heart was a little heavy. Defeating Sun Wukong head-on, he doesn't have much confidence, and he is only 30% sure at most. Don't look at the fact that he just won the Turtle Immortal, who is stronger than Goku, but if it is a head-to-head battle, he will most likely lose. Unless you use the sky dancing technique and are invincible, you will have a chance to defeat the Turtle Immortal head-on. But at this stage, when everyone can't fly, his use of the sky dancing technique is too lippy, and Li Shu doesn't know if this is a head-on defeat. After all, it is also a victory. Now the achievement value is as high as 28 points. For the sake of insurance, Li Shu plans to consult, and he can still afford to spend 1 achievement point. If he can use the sky dancing technique, then his certainty of defeating Goku can soar to 80. The system quickly replied, no. That's it. Achievement points -2. Current achievement value, 26. With just 2 words of answer, Li Shu was deducted 2 points of achievement, and the consulting fee was quietly doubled, which made Li Shu very angry and helpless. If you can't use the sky dance, the task is a bit difficult. Li Shu glanced at the battle table. If nothing else, his next opponent is Klin, and then he meets Goku in the final to compete for the championship and runner-up. He still has time to improve his combat power, at least to the same level as Wukong. Fortunately, it is not much different. As long as he successfully improves the dinosaur legs twice, it will be almost the same. By the way, where did you learn your turtle school qigong? The turtle immortal suddenly asked. Li Shu's face was not red and his heart was not beating, and he lied, huh? Well, I learned from you. Me, the turtle immortal said a little confused. I don't seem to have taught you this trick. Li Shu said shamelessly. I saw that you performed it once, so I tried to imitate your movements, and I learned it. It doesn't look very difficult. The turtle immortal opened his mouth, but finally chose to remain silent. In addition, the turtle immortal really couldn't think of any other suitable reason, and he had to admit that the kid in front of him was indeed a genius. Just by looking at it, he learned the trick he had painstakingly studied for 50 years. Congratulations, you have earned the achievement, Genius. Get the reward Cheeky achievement value +1. Cheeky comparable to the thickness of the face of the city wall, it can reduce your shame. Li Shu. This is the first time in Li Shu's history that he has achieved an achievement, but he is not happy. I don't mean anything else, I'm just curious. Seeing that Li Shu's expression was a little wrong, the turtle immortal hurriedly explained, I originally planned to teach you after the martial arts meeting ended. Quote. Big brother. Teacher Wu Tian, it's time for Goku to play. But Goku is gone. At this moment, Qin's panicked voice came from a distance, and the exchange between Li Shu and the turtle immortal ended, and he hurriedly walked to Qin to understand the situation. After learning about the situation, Li Shu was shocked. Wukong was gone. Is there this plot in the original book? He couldn't remember it at all, so he had to gather more people to help find Goku around. He was worried that his appearance had caused the storyline to change. If Wukong is eliminated like this, his achievement task will be in vain. A few minutes later, Li Shu found Wukong. Looking at Wukong, who was sleeping with his back against the wall, Li Shu was a little speechless, but fortunately it was just a false alarm. Wake up, Goku, it's time for you to play. Li Shu hurriedly carried Wukong and ran towards the ring. Wukong also woke up at this time, and smiled embarrassedly. The sun is too comfortable, and I accidentally fell asleep. Hearing Wukong's explanation, everyone instantly fainted and fell to the ground. After a small episode, the Monkey King's showdown officially began. His opponent, Quran, is a monster with wings, and Li Shu quickly remembers this episode. The next development is almost the same as the plot in his memory. The monster Quran tried his best to take Goku and finally chose to surrender after he was helpless. During this period, Li Shu used a bottle of Super Blessing Potion and 4 achievement points to successfully raise the dinosaur leg to LV3. Endless Dinosaur Legs LV3, a renewable edible weapon, can be attached to the legs. Increases combat effectiveness by 4% after equipping. With the increase in equipment, Li Shu's combat power has also reached 78 points, which is almost the same as Wukong's 80 combat power. Li Shu didn't continue to improve the dinosaur legs. He estimated that from LV3 to LV4, it was estimated that the cost of one promotion would cost 8 achievements, and he was a little reluctant. If you're unlucky, the remaining 23 points of achievement will just be wasted. 23 points has achieved a lot, and he decided to try to improve the Saiyan bloodline. Raise the Saiyan bloodline. Li Shu gave the order, silently expecting in his heart, don't fail. Don't fail. Don't fail. Do you spend 20 achievements to upgrade Saiyan bloodline to Saiyan bloodline LV1? Yes. Li Shu was overjoyed, and without the slightest hesitation, he chose yes. He didn't know how many times he tried, and the achievement was finally enough. Ascending successfully. Congratulations, you have obtained Saiyan bloodline LV1. Quote. Like the fighting series skills, there is no information description of the Saiyan bloodline. Li Shu did not feel a significant change, and the combat power is still 78. It should be the same as the fighting series skills, and the subtle changes brought about by the improvement can only be reflected in the battle. Based on Li Shu's understanding of the Saiyan bloodline after the change of his bloodline, it should be due to the improvement of combat effectiveness after recovering from serious injuries. Maybe the development of Super Saiyan will also be improved, such as being easier to transform, or the combat power increase is greater after transformation. These are Li Shu's guesses, but it won't be long before these guesses can be verified one by one. In the fight with Wukong, serious injuries are inevitable. And Goku's Saiyan bloodline, like the Saiyan bloodline before his upgrade, belongs to the most ordinary. Comparing the two, you can know the difference between Saiyan bloodline and Saiyan bloodline LV1. 10 minutes later, the semi-finals will be ushered in. Let's take a break and let's interview these top 4 players. The host and referee, holding the microphone with passion, shouted, let's have the 2 youngest players in history, Sun Wukong. Graham Lin. In the cheers of the audience, Sun Wukong walked into the ring with a big grin, and Kling followed a little shyly. Under the host's inquiry, everyone exclaimed when they learned that Sun Wukong was only 12 years old. Excuse me, is your tale real? The host asked curiously. Yes. Sun Wukong hurriedly took off his pants, didn't care about Shao Kunken's feelings at all, and showed his tail to everyone. Li Shu watched this scene with a smile. It was really interesting. I didn't expect that 5 years have passed. Wukong's little bell is still so small. Ha ha ha, I really want to take a photo as a souvenir. It's a pity that he didn't prepare the camera in advance and missed such a precious picture. In the future, you must carry a camera with you, and it's time to upgrade the dimensional storage space, and the things inside are about to run out. Seeing that there were only 3 achievement points left, Li Shu did not hesitate, and used all of them to improve the dimensional storage space, expanding by 3 cubic meters, reaching 4 cubic meters, which looked a lot more spacious. At this point, Li Shu's achievement points have been completely exhausted. It didn't take long for Li Shu to walk into the ring amid the host's shouts. "Are the three of you coming together?" "They are all wearing the same practice clothes," the host asked. Li Shu nodded and said, "Yes." Quote, "Does the word, turtle, mean anything?" the moderator asked again. Li Shu explained, "We are all under the sect of the Turtle Immortals." Quote, "Turtle Immortals." The host pondered for a moment, and suddenly exclaimed, "Is it the legendary martial arts god's martial arts teacher?" As soon as these words came out, the audience was shocked, and the name of Teacher Wushan was known to everyone in the martial arts world. It turned out to be Teacher Wu Tian's disciple. No wonder all of them are so strong. And among our top 4 players, he has won 3 places, and he is worthy of being the Wushan teacher who enjoys the title of the god of martial arts. Quote, "The disciples cultivated are also so good. From this point of view, the next semi-finals, or even the finals, will be an infighting between Master Wushan's disciples. It's really exciting. I wonder what kind of exciting showdown it will bring us. Let's wait and see." Under the host's passionate explanation, the audience was also full of interest, looking forward to the duel between the disciples of the god of martial arts. Next, under the auspices of the host, the top 4 players all played some small games, showed their other talents, and pulled the atmosphere of the scene. Li Shu was the last to appear, and under the warm invitation of the host, he had to put on a talent. "Hello everyone, in addition to the identity of a martial artist, I have another identity." Li Shu smiled confidently. "I used to be a musician who practiced for 2.5 years, and I was good at singing, dancing, and rap. A song, Chicken, You Are Too Beautiful, for everyone." Under the watchful eye, Li Shu spoke, "Saka Luo Si. Dorado Bolado, Sagato." The title of the Dragon Ball theme song, Li Shu never knew what it was called, so he made up a name. But he grew up hearing about it, and when he was a child, he would stay in front of the TV every day, waiting for other children to order an episode of Dragon Ball, and he prostituted it for nothing. After a long time, he will be able to sing it too. At the end of the song, Li Shu's singing ushered in the applause of the audience. Especially Boomer in the audience, his eyes flashed with little stars, and he looked at Li Shu on the stage intoxicated. Li Shu looks ordinary, and he is just a little handsome, but he does look so charming at the moment. Not only Boomer, but countless other women also looked at Li Shu obsessively. The audience even sounded the sound of one more song, one after another. "Congratulations, you have obtained the achievement, Little Black, and you will receive a reward Kun Fist, and your achievement value will be +2. Kunquan, the amazing boxing method famous for Tishan, contains a fist intent called Embarrassment, which is infinitely powerful. Congratulations, you have obtained the achievement, Musician of the Martial Arts Conference, and you will be rewarded with Lion's Roar, and the achievement value will be +2. Lion's Roar, the Charter Mother's famous stunt. See the movie Kung Fu for details, and I won't describe it too much." 2 achievement rewards in a row made Li Shu a little stunned. He was really unintentional, and had no other meanings and ideas. But I have to say, these 2 rewards are really good. At this moment, the cheers of the audience, "One more song," are getting stronger and stronger, and seeing that the martial arts meeting is about to become a concert, the host hurriedly began to control the situation, and his forehead was full of fine sweat. "Audience, I can understand your feelings. I didn't expect that Li Shu would be a musician who has been practicing for 2.5 years, but please rest assured, how about we let him sing another song after the competition?" Under the host's painstaking persuasion, the audience's enthusiasm finally subsided a little and focused on the semifinals. The first game of the semifinals, Li Shu vs Klin. "Please come on stage and get ready. The other players get off the stage and take a break." Soon only Li Shu and Kling were left on the stage, and Li Shu was still standing there casually. Kling was nervous, put on a posture, and stared at Li Shu extremely seriously. "Game, begin." The host and referee gave an order, and Kling chose to strike first and took the lead in attacking. After seeing Li Shu's strength, Kling didn't dare to be careless at all. Combat strength, 35. Looking at Kling, who was in a hurry, Li Shu decided to try the so-called infinite power of Kunquan. How infinite it is. I saw Li Shu turn sideways slightly, a confident smile appeared at the corner of his mouth, hooked his hand at the attacking Klin, and then immediately began to do the difficult action of dribbling under his crotch. Quote question mark quote. Colin. Quote question mark quote. Goku. Quote question mark quote. Turtle Immortals. Quote question mark quote. Spectator. The host was even more dumbfounded. This. What kind of move is this? Oh my god. Li Shu actually played basketball. Is this a whole new genre that we've never seen before? Is it called basketball boxing? Everyone was stunned, and Kling was a little at a loss. He didn't understand what Li Shu's trick was, it looked like it was all flawed. Haven't seen him use it before. But he had already made a move, opened his bow without looking back, and attacked hard. Li Shu was also a little speechless at the moment. He never expected that the starting style of Kun Fist would be so explosive. He had known that this was the case, and he would never have used this move under the attention of everyone. At the same time, a fist intent called embarrassment centered on Li Shu quietly spread around. Even Li Shu, who used his fist, was not spared, and an extremely embarrassing emotion inexplicably rose in his heart. Kling bore the brunt of the attack. He suddenly felt that his movements at the moment were very embarrassing, and his 10 toes couldn't help arching, and goosebumps suddenly rose all over his body. This sudden change made his offensive deformed, revealing a great flaw. It's over. Kling was shocked, completely oblivious to what was happening. However, Li Shu did not take this opportunity to defeat Kling in one fell swoop, because once the Kun Fist was cast, it could not be stopped halfway, and the whole set had to be finished. Such important information, why didn't you tell me in advance? Li Shu was a little angry, his body swayed uncontrollably, only to see him suddenly turn around, one shoulder high and the other shoulder low, and kept arching the kicking of Klinfei with his low shoulder. This move is the famous Iron Mountain. Every time Li Shu arched, the embarrassing fist intent would increase by 1 point. After only a few pops, Klin's toe ripped through his shoes, leaving them exposed, and he fell to the ground under the attack of Iron Mountain. I saw Klin's expression of pain, writhing on the ground, as if he was going through an indescribable torment in his heart, and every hair on his body stood high. However, Li Shu's offensive was not over yet. The host endured the embarrassment in his heart and explained, "What's the situation? What's going on? Is Li Shu's basketball boxing so strong?" With just one blow, Kling was beaten to death. Quote, "This is a great opportunity. Will Li Shu players care about the friendship of their classmates? Or will it take advantage of the victory and chase after it?" Quote, "What? Li Shu didn't choose either, but danced on the spot. Is this contempt for the opponent? Oh my god." Li Shu was roaring madly in his heart at the moment, "Stop me. Dog system, I'll let you stop me." However, his body was still dancing uncontrollably, covering his crotch with one hand, shaking the other hand to 3, slightly sideways with one foot as the center, looking behind him and retreating. "Stop. Can't be returned. It's going to fall off the field." Li Shu was completely panicked. He didn't expect that Kunquan would be so terrifying. Fortunately, he has the skill of Cheeky, otherwise he would have found a crack in the ground by now. With the end of the last two-handed index finger flowering action, Li Shu's Kun Fist was finally finished. And Kling was lying on the ground at the moment, foaming at the mouth and convulsing constantly. He was really embarrassed, and he had completely lost his ability to fight. After the host counted down 10 seconds, the results of the first semifinal were announced, and Li Shu won. What Li Shu didn't expect was that with the end of his set of Kun boxing, the female audience in the audience was completely boiling, shouting his name. Especially after the host announced Li Shu's victory, the female audience in the audience exploded the audience, and the shouts became even crazier. "Li Shujun, can we have a meal together in the evening?" Quote, "Li Shujun, do you have a girlfriend? Can I date you?" Li Shu looked at the audience in shock. He never expected that he would be embarrassed on stage, and the female audience in the audience would be so excited. Is this the power of Kun? At the same time, the rewards of the system are coming again. Congratulations, you have obtained the achievement, Heartthrob, and you will be rewarded with a bottle of Forgetful Water, and your achievement value will be +5. Forgetful Water, after using it, you can forget a skill. Forget the water. Good thing, Li Shu waved to the audience, returned to the back of the stage, and handed over the mess to the host. Fortunately, the host of this part-time referee was professional enough, and it only took a few minutes to appease the crazy female fans in the audience. Semi-finals Game 2. Monkey King vs Nan Wu. With the host's order, the showdown between Sun Wukong and Nan Wu is about to start. In the rest area, it was difficult for Li Shu to calm down and watch Wukong's game, and the power of Kun Fist just now made him feel palpitations now. Do you want to use forgetful water to forget this skill? Li Shu was a little tangled. Forget it, you don't have a lot of skills, you will always be useful, and you don't usually need it. Li Shu quickly made a decision. He suddenly remembered that Clin was carried away by the medical staff, and hurriedly ran over and gave Clin a fairy bean. Clin woke up slowly, and he had just fainted directly from Li Shu's fist intent. The moment he saw Li Shu, Clin was still a little afraid, and his body couldn't help but tremble. Then he smiled bitterly. What kind of trick are you? I had no room for resistance. If you want to learn, I can teach you, Li Shu said with a smile. Clin hurriedly shook his head and said, forget it, I can't learn it, I really can't do those few actions. Li Shu smiled awkwardly. To be honest, if it weren't for the skill of cheekiness, he would probably be so ashamed that he would commit suicide by seppuku now. At this moment, the turtle Immortal ran over with an excited face. He held Li Shu's hand, and said urgently, Li Shu, please teach me this set of boxing techniques. Li Shu looked at the turtle Immortal with a fanatical face, and his heart suddenly understood, so he nodded and said, no problem, teacher Wushan. The turtle Immortal suddenly smiled, already fantasizing about the wonderful picture of thousands of girls after learning Kunquan. Li Shu did frown. Why is the system's voice still not loud? It doesn't make sense. Doesn't this trigger the achievement task? It turns out that not all of them will trigger achievement tasks, and Li Shu, who thought he had figured out the habits of the system, was a little regretful. Feeling the 9 points of achievement he had just obtained, Li Shu thought for a moment and decided to use it to improve the dinosaur's legs. It's a pity that the Super Blessing Potion has run out. Let's try the effect of the Blessing Potion. Blessing Potion, within 1 minute, your luck will be slightly increased. I don't know if the effect can be stacked. Li Shu looked at the 9 bottles of Blessing Potions in the dimensional storage space, and a bold idea popped up in his heart. Regardless, he decided to give it a try, and his current achievement points were only enough to increase once. Li Shulei acted resolutely, immediately took action, and drank 3 bottles of Blessing Potion in one go. Boost Endless Dinosaur Legs LV3. Improving. As Li Shu guessed, this time the promotion requires 8 achievement points, and so on. The next promotion is probably 16 points. Successful promotion. Congratulations on obtaining Endless Dinosaur Legs LV4. Endless Dinosaur Legs LV4, a renewable edible weapon, can be attached to the legs. It brings out an enticing meaty aroma. Increases combat effectiveness by 5% after equipping. Quote. It worked. Li Shu jumped up happily. Although it is impossible to tell whether the effect of the Blessing Potion is superimposed or not, it can undoubtedly increase your belief in success, and it is still very worthwhile. As the saying goes, if you believe it, you will have it, and if you don't believe it, you will not, and when you get rich in the future, he plans to consult whether the system can be superimposed. Combat Strength. 78.75. Looking at the slight increase in combat effectiveness, Li Shu is still very satisfied, and it is already very good at this stage. In addition, after the dinosaur legs were upgraded to LV4, there was a new entry, to stimulate the tempting aroma of meat. This is undoubtedly an excellent equipment skill, especially when fighting a foodie like Wukong. Li Shu already has a picture in his mind, and he can't help but let out a hee hee hee. After some improvement, Li Shu has added a lot of confidence in the task of defeating Goku head-on. Li Shu returned to the players' rest area and continued to watch Goku's match. As soon as he came, he saw that Nan Wu was fighting Wukong, and he was still using the palm technique that fell from the sky, Sky Cross Slash. Goku. Well, combat strength. 83. No, right, Li Shu was stunned. Wukong's combat power actually increased in the battle. This undoubtedly increased the difficulty of the task for him. This result made Li Shu very angry, and he deeply understood what it means to be more popular than people. He worked hard to brush up on his achievements, and he was terrified to improve his probability, and almost got a heart attack, and as a result, he increased his combat power by 3.75. Wukong was good, but he was beaten up, and his combat power skyrocketed by 3 points. Sure enough, fear of pain is the biggest obstacle to the Saiyan bloodline. Although there is some injustice in his heart, Li Shu also expressed his understanding. In fact, as long as he is ruthless and beaten, he will not be much worse than Wukong. Looking at Wukong's painful appearance, Li Shu gasped, and his heart suddenly felt better, and it looked really painful. He was really scared, and as a last resort, Li Shu was absolutely unwilling to be beaten. Seeing this, Li Shu admired Wukong very much. Nan Wu's combat power was only 45 points. Wukong could obviously directly give Nan Wu seconds, but Wukong controlled his strength at the same level as Nan Wu, so as to hone himself. Squeezed Nan Wu's potential again and again, forcing Nan Wu to use more powerful tricks. With this martial arts will, Li Shu thinks that he can't compare with it, and he can't do it. If it was him, he would have given Nan Wu a second directly, and wanted to hit me. Dream on. With Nan Wu running out of tricks, Goku couldn't feel the pressure and defeated his opponent in one fell swoop and successfully advanced to the finals. Looking at Nan Wu's lonely expression, Li Shu knew that the opportunity had come, and stopped Nan Wu, who was about to go home after being present. Mr. Nan Wu, I am willing to help your hometown and solve the problem of water sources. In Nan's undoubted gaze, Li Shu said bluntly. He knew that Nan Wu came from a poor and backward tribe with a shortage of water, and people died of thirst every day, and life was very difficult. Nan Wu's wish is to get the prize money from the Martial Arts Association to improve the water situation in his hometown. Nan Wu, who was still a little lost, suddenly became excited. Really? But why would you do that? Is there anything I need to do for you? Quote. Everyone has compassion. Looking at the simple and excited Nan Wu, Li Shu can't be indifferent. Even if he doesn't trigger the achievement task in the end and doesn't get the achievement reward, he is willing to help Nan Wu. This is a great difficulty for Nan Wu, and for Li Shu, it is just a gesture, so why not do it? The reward for the champion of the martial arts club is only 1 million, I will give you 10 million. Li Shu took out a space capsule and said, the money is all in it, you can use this money to buy some more space capsules, fill it with enough water for emergency first, and then use the rest of the money to solve the problem of water resources in your hometown. Nan Wu took the capsule in shock and asked cautiously, can you tell me a place to buy water? Buying water? What water to buy? Li Shu said speechlessly. Do you see the well next to you? Hit casually, don't want money. Quote. What? Nan Wu, who heard the news, was directly shocked and dropped his jaw. Mr. Nan Wu, our western capital is very rich in water resources, so the water is free, and you don't need to spend money to buy it. At this moment, the turtle Immortal came over at some point, and also took out a space capsule and handed it to Nan Wu. I have one too, bring some more water back. Looking at the two benefactors in front of him, Nan Wu was grateful and grateful. Li Shu was not surprised by the appearance of the turtle immortals. In the original book, it was the turtle immortals who helped Nan Wu. Need I do something for you? Nan Wu felt that he had nothing to repay, so he had to help do something. Li Shu and the turtle immortal were helpless, and finally sent Nan Wu away with great difficulty. Congratulations, you have obtained the achievement, Nan Wu's wish, and you will be rewarded with a 500 milliliters bottle of super divine water, and the achievement value is +2. Super divine water with the power of poison, it stimulates people's potential, and is recommended for people with pure hearts. Carry the past to take off on the spot, and you can't carry the plastic monument on the spot. Quote. Super divine water. The moment he heard this reward, Li Shu was stunned. It was impossible for him to drink this thing even if he was killed. In the original book, Sun Wukong, a person as pure, was poisoned to death, and because of this, he fell into the bane of viral heart disease. What about yourself? The lingering 5000 T learning materials in my mind, living in the internet era in my previous life, under the baptism of big data, am I still pure? In his previous life, a pure person may have met the conditions for applying for National Endangered Species Protection, right? After dealing with Nan Wu's affairs, it didn't take long for the final of the 21st Martial Arts Conference to finally usher in the final of the 21st Martial Arts Conference under the announcement of the host. At the same time, Li Shu's long-lost voice sounded in his mind. Congratulations, you have obtained the achievement, 10 consecutive victories in the 21st Martial Arts Conference, and you will be rewarded with a bottle of Super Blessing Potion and your achievement value will be +8. Congratulations, you have obtained the achievement, 21st Martial Arts Conference Finalist, rewarded with 2 bottles of Super Blessing Potion and achievement value +10. The moment he heard the voice, Li Shu was shocked, because he had forgotten about it. At first he had a feeling that something was missing, but he couldn't remember what it was, but now he finally understood where that feeling came from. Dare to love is that the system forgot to send rewards. System. I'm sorry, I forgot to send a reward when I was fishing, and in order to appease your fragile heart, I decided to compensate you for a free inquiry. Quote. Congratulations, you have been rewarded with a free consultation once. Okay, that's how you work, right? I complain about you. Li Shu complained in his heart, but he didn't really complain, because there was no way to complain at all, and it was gratifying that this system was quite humane, and there was no reward for hacking himself. That's a huge sum of 18 points. And there are also 3 bottles of Super Blessing Potion. If this is hacked, he can't even remember it. It just so happened that Li Shu had a question to ask, so he immediately used the opportunity of this free consultation. What system prop effects can be stacked? Li Shu organized the next language and consulted. System. It's too much, see for yourself. Quote. Congratulations, you have received a reward list of stackable items. And this kind of operation. Li Shu hurriedly opened the dimensional storage space to check the props in the list. There are countless names of props densely listed in the column, and Li Shu is dazzled, and from the beginning to the end, he has not found the name of the Blessing Potion. This discovery made Li Shu a little disappointed, and sure enough, it was just his own psychological effect, and the Blessing Potion could not be stacked. However, Li Shu made a new discovery, and he saw Invisibility Epiphany Potion, Super Saiyan Epiphany Potion, Super Transformation Epiphany Potion, and so on in the list. In short, the epiphany effect of all epiphany potions can be stacked, and the more potions you take at the same time, the higher the chance of epiphany. And he also found the names of such items: Invisibility 99% Epiphany Potion, Super Saiyan 99% Epiphany Potion, and other similar props. This unexpected discovery made Li Shu mentally balanced a lot, which meant that he could increase the success rate of these Epiphany Potions to 99% before using them. Combined with Blessing Potion and Super Blessing Potion, the success rate can theoretically reach 100%. To be honest, the experience of lifting dinosaur legs makes it hard for Li Shu to believe that this 99% success rate, only 100% is the safest. Li Shu's achievement value at the moment came to 19 o'clock, and after thinking for a while, he still decided to save it. At this stage, the improvement of dinosaur legs is no longer of great significance to Li Shu, it is enough. There are 8 achievements for 10 consecutive wins, and 10 achievements for the finalists, so if you win a championship, then the achievement points of the full victory and the achievement points of the champion cannot take off. Li Shu is looking forward to the final reward and is ready to be beaten by Wukong. He has an immortal body. As long as his physical strength can keep up, he has strong willpower. He is not afraid of fighting, he is not afraid of pain, and he will not fall off the field, and he can be invincible in theory. The finals of the world's #1 martial arts tournament are about to begin. Let's invite Li Shu and Sun Wukong to the ring. As the host's voice fell, the female compatriots in the audience suddenly let out a deafening cheer. Li Shu, Li Shu, Li Shu. Among them, Boomer was the loudest. Regardless of the outcome, Li Shu has become the most popular contestant in this martial arts tournament. Such a scene, even Li Shu himself was unexpected, and he once again felt Kun's charm. It seems that I have to improve the skill of Cheeky and I can't bear the strength of my current skill. Li Shu silently gave the order. Improving. Congratulations, you have successfully improved and obtained the skill Cheeky LV1. Cheeky Skin LV1, the thickness of the skin comparable to the Great Wall can greatly reduce your shame. This promotion cost 5 points of achievement, and Li Shu felt that it was worth the money. The whole person feels different in an instant, and can calmly deal with the fanatical female fans. Li Shu had to give the system a thumbs up. If you want to talk about practicality, it has to be the skill of Cheeky. After a few brief opening remarks, the host announced the start of the game. Wukong looked at his eldest brother seriously. Li Shu's casual standing posture looked full of flaws, but he didn't dare to be careless. In Baozi Mountain, he and his eldest brother fought more than 100 times, although most of them won by himself, but he knew that it was because the eldest brother did not do his best at all. Every time he was injured a little, he screamed and admitted defeat, which made Wukong very unhappy and complained about his eldest brother. The eldest brother never took winning or losing seriously, and every time he used food that he couldn't refuse, he eliminated his complaints. When I was practicing with the turtle immortals, I was often lazy, and I didn't listen to what I said, and every time I said that I could protect my eldest brother, why did my eldest brother work so hard? At this point, Wukong also understood that the eldest brother did not have the heart to become a strong man at all, and then he was relieved. However, the belligerent Goku really wants to fight with his eldest brother with all his might, which has been his wish for many years. On such an occasion, the eldest brother should be doing his best this time, right? Goku is scrappy and full of anticipation. He didn't attack rashly. Judging from his years of experience with his eldest brother, this seems to be a flaw all over his body, but in fact, it is all a trap to lure the enemy in. Wukong once asked curiously, and the eldest brother replied to him like this: "The world's martial arts are invincible, only fast and unbreakable. We must learn to wait for work with ease, break with static, and strike at the rear." Quote. This is the martial arts concept of the eldest brother. Wukong doesn't understand what it means, he just thinks the eldest brother is too lazy. Wukong, let the horse come over, let you see the true strength of the eldest brother today. Li Shu hooked Wukong's hand. He doesn't like to move first, he is good at making a late strike. It's like playing rock paper scissors, and it's tried and tested time and again. Wukong shouted, "Big brother, I won't be fooled, you have said this 800 times. Quote. Li Shu felt troubled, so he continued to shout, "Wukong, how can I, as a big brother, be embarrassed to strike first? You attack first." Goku shouted, "I don't. Big brother, you attack first." Li Shu was a little puzzled. Why didn't Wukong play his cards according to the routine today? As soon as he said this in the past, he immediately attacked it. The host looked left and right, and with his professionalism, he didn't know how to explain it for a while. Okay then it's up to whom. Li Shu looked indifferent, and suddenly an extra dinosaur leg with a burnt outside and tender inside suddenly appeared in his hand, exuding an attractive fragrance, and he ate it by himself. What? Li Shu actually ate it directly. Did he forget that it was the final scene? The host opened his mouth in surprise and continued, "In the face of the opponent's provocation, how should the Monkey King player deal with such a situation? Let's wait and see. Look, everyone, no child can stand such a provocation. The Monkey King player has moved. He took the lead in attacking." Quote. "Big brother, give me a bite." Wukong rushed over in an instant, about to snatch the dinosaur leg from Li Shu's hand. Li Shu had already prepared. How could he let Wukong get his wish, and immediately slapped the dinosaur's leg on the leg and disappeared without a trace. At the same time, the left hand delivered an elbow blow. However, this elbow pierced through Goku's body. Afterimage fist. Li Shu instantly understood. The tip of his nose twitched slightly, and a strong crisis came from behind. Without thinking about it, he stepped on the soles of his feet suddenly, and directly came to a golden hook hanging upside down on the spot, dodging Wukong's attack at the same time, and kicked Wukong's back. However, this kick was missed again, and the kick was still an afterimage. Double remnant elephant fist. Li Shu didn't feel the slightest surprise, and his offensive didn't stop because of this. He smelled a dangerous aura coming from above, and his fist slammed out. Bang! With a muffled sound, Li Shu's fist and Wukong's fist slammed together, and both of them had drastic changes in their faces. Wukong backflips in a row and distanced himself from Li Shu safely. Li Shu took a few steps backwards to dissolve this force, and at the same time, a sharp pain came from the knuckles. Shish, it hurts, it hurts. Li Shu inhaled in pain, rubbed his hands constantly, and shouted loudly at the same time, "Wukong! Wait a minute, let me take my time. No sneak attacks. Hiss, it hurts me." Wukong laughed and said, "Big brother, you're still so afraid of pain." After a while, Li Shu finally relented and looked at Wukong with a frown. he decided that in the next battle, he would focus on fighting and never go head-to-head with Wukong. Big brother, I've attacked it. Goku rushed straight over and came with a flying kick at great speed. However, this kick was directly kicked into the air, and what was left in place was the afterimage of Li Shu. Turtle School Qigong. At the same time, a cry came from above, accompanied by a blue wave of light. Wukong reacted very quickly, and quickly stood firm after kicking the air, and actually put on a Turtle School Qigong starting hand, and at the moment when the Turtle School Qigong was about to hit him, it was also a Turtle School Qigong shot. The two blue light waves collided and cancelled each other out in an instant. Seeing this scene, the Turtle Immortal's eyes widened. The trick he had painstakingly studied was actually learned at a glance in front of the two brothers, which was really shocking. Hey big brother, I also learned this trick, Wukong said happily. Li Shu was not surprised, but raised a finger, and a wave of energy fluctuated at his fingertips, and with a bang, a wave of light shot out. Wukong was shocked. He had never seen his eldest brother use this move, and quickly dodged the attack with a quick jump. I saw that a big hole had been broken in the position where he was standing. Big brother, what kind of trick is this? Wukong, who jumped in midair, asked in horror. Li Shu said with a smile. This is the eldest brother's self-created trick when watching the TV series, The Six-Vein Divine Sword. After speaking, Li Shu faced Wukong, who was a live target in the air, and he couldn't stop Bubu. Wukong was shocked. There was no place for people to borrow power in the air, it was difficult to complete the movement, and he was hit by several light waves in an instant and was injured. And under the impact of the light wave, it fell towards the sidelines. I really want to win, it's not as difficult as I thought, it seems that I have indeed become a lot stronger. Li Shu looked at the scene in surprise, he didn't expect to win so easily. However, just when everyone thought Goku was going to lose, an accident happened. I saw that Goku's tail danced wildly, like the propeller of a helicopter, and flew back to the ring with him. Li Shu was dumbfounded, he never thought that the tail could be used like this. The host yelled excitedly, what? The Monkey King player actually flew back with his tail. The awesome showdown isn't over yet. Quote, hey, Wukong grinned and said, big brother, I'm going to be serious too. With that, Goku disappeared with a whoosh. Li Shu's heart tightened, he was very worried that he would be approached by Wukong, the tip of his nose quickly stirred, and he soon felt the dangerous aura coming from behind. Just when Li Shu wanted to respond, his face suddenly changed. Wrong. In addition to the rear, he actually felt the aura of danger above. What's going on? It was this momentary hesitation that made Li Shu reveal a huge flaw, and his back instantly suffered a strong blow. The sharp pain that pierced the heart made Li Shu let out a terrible scream. At the same time, a shaggy tail wrapped around his neck. Li Shu also immediately understood why he smelled two dangerous breaths at the same time. The reason is very simple. Wukong can use two different attacks at the same time, hitting his head on the back at the same time, and at the same time controlling his tail to attack the neck, in this way confusing Li Shu's perception. While Li Shu was in great pain, he was full of admiration for Wukong in his heart, and he was greatly shocked by such a powerful battle instinct. I thought that I could be invincible with that nose of fighting, but it seems that I was whimsical. Big brother, admit defeat. Wukong actually used the tail wrapped around Li Shu's neck to lift Li Shu's whole person. Li Shu, who was deprived of oxygen, turned red, and dragged Wukong's tail with both hands, trying to break free. However, it was all in vain. Li Shu couldn't help but have a trace of bitterness in his heart. It was he who told Wukong to increase the training of the tail, because this was their weakness. Therefore, Wukong's use of the tail can reach the point where it is today, and burst out with such a powerful power. Mr. Referee, let's count down, Wukong said to the host and referee who was watching from the sidelines. The host woke up like a dream and shouted excitedly, it's really a wonderful showdown, it's breathtaking. Li Shu has no power to parry at the moment. If he can't break free within 10 seconds, for the sake of his life safety, we can only sentence him to lose. Quote, 10, 9, 8. With the countdown of the referee, the female audience outside the stadium suddenly became excited. They couldn't watch their idols watch, they lost like this, and shouted loudly, Li Shu, come on. Li Shu was already a little confused at the moment due to the lack of oxygen in his brain. The feeling of suffocation from the lack of oxygen in the brain made Li Shu extremely painful. Faced with such a situation, it was not that he had no way to break the game, but the intense pain and suffocation made his brain short-circuit, as if he was going to shut down at any time. It's not normal, it hurts abnormally. Li Shu suddenly thought of something. He was indeed afraid of pain, but who among the modern youth was not afraid of pain? But he is not so afraid of pain. The feeling of suffocation and the feeling of a heavy blow to his back, he has not experienced it in his previous life, and it definitely does not hurt as much as it does now. It's as if something has magnified my pain tenfold, hundredfold, thousandfold, 10,000. I didn't pay attention to it before, because there was a little pain. Li Shu would choose to relieve the pain in time. But now it's different, it's at the scene of the finals, he has to experience this extreme pain, and he is mentally prepared in advance, but if you think about it carefully, this pain is too outrageous. There's a problem. There must be something wrong with the immortal body. Under the extreme pain, a spiritual light flashed in Li Shu's mind, and he instantly locked on the object of suspicion. Of all his undescribed skills, only the immortal body is the most suspicious. After all, the fighting series skills are all local abilities, and he knows the Saiyan bloodline very well, and most importantly, on the first day he came to the Dragon Ball world, he was chewed dead by the dinosaurs and almost fainted. It was the first time he was eaten by a dinosaur, and Li Shu had no experience, so he didn't notice the abnormality of the pain. After the thought was reached, Li Shu's willpower was improved, and under the influence of the genes of the Saiyan bloodline, he was able to stay awake under such extreme pain. I haven't fallen to the ground yet, I'm not allowed to count. Li Shu's voice seemed to be squeezed out of his throat, hoarse and painful. The host looked at Li Shu, whose face was flushed, as if he was about to burp at any time, and shouted excitedly, "Oh my God! Li Shu has woken up. He didn't faint, but he's in a terrible situation. What will he do to solve the current dilemma? Let's wait and see." Such a wonderful matchup is simply an unparalleled visual feast. Wukong frowned, looked at Li Shu with a worried expression, and said, "Big brother, admit defeat. If you continue like this, you will really die." "Don't worry, I can't die. Big brother still has a trick that is useless," Li Shu said with difficulty. "Don't forget, I also have a tail." The moment the words fell, a whip shadow suddenly drew towards Wukong. Wukong was shocked, because Li Shu's tail was basically wrapped around his waist, and the frequency of use was very low, it was easy to ignore. Even Wukong, who has been with Li Shu for more than 5 years, ignores this syllable. The tail like a long whip slammed into Goku's head, leaving a hideous whip mark, and Goku suddenly covered his head in pain and screamed. Li Shu also took this opportunity to break free from the shackles, greedily breathing in the fresh air, and looking at Wukong with palpitations. He was almost about to lose just now. When he wins the championship, he will be rich, and he must ask the system why he is so afraid of pain, whether it is related to the hidden information of the immortal body. No matter what the result is, it is already an established fact that he is afraid of pain, and when the Dragon Balls cool down and recover, he must collect all 7 Dragon Balls as soon as possible, and complete the main line check-in task while making a wish of not being afraid of pain. As for whether it will change the development of the plot because of this, which will lead to terrifying consequences, Li Shu can't care so much. The world is the biggest, and the most important thing is to be comfortable by himself. Li Shu, who had made up his mind, took a deep breath, drummed his cheeks into a big drum, and took the lead in attacking, which was directly a turtle faction qigong. At the moment when Wukong was about to face the wave again, Li Shu's mouth, which he had long been unable to suppress, suddenly opened, and let out an earth-shattering roar. Lion's roar surprised the Dragon Ball world. The surrounding walls were directly torn apart under this strong sonic attack, and the host closest to the ring was directly lifted out. The audience covered their ears with painful expressions, and looked at Li Shu in the ring in horror one by one. This guy, there is such a powerful power hidden. The turtle immortal was the most shocked. He suddenly felt that even if it was a head-to-head battle, he might not be able to win against Li Shu. For example, this move in front of him is difficult for him to deal with, and if he is not careful, he will lose. Seeing this, the turtle immortals were originally a little unwilling, and they suddenly dissipated. He had to admit that Li Shu did have the strength to win him. The turtle immortal looked at the 2 young people in front of him with emotion, and felt that a new era was coming, and it was difficult for him, an old guy, to keep up with the pace of young people. He will become a spectator and witness the birth of the strongest martial artist in the new era. After all, these two amazingly talented little guys are their own apprentices, ha 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 ha. That's amazing. Li Shu can cause such terrifying destructive power with just one roar. So how should the Goku player, who is in the center of the attack, deal with it? I have to say that the host and referee is very dedicated and still passionate about explaining. At this moment, Wukong's location, under the attack of the turtle sect Qigong, was shrouded in thick smoke, and he couldn't see the appearance inside. Li Shu frowned. The situation in front of him was very familiar, and anyone who had seen the Dragon Ball would be unfamiliar, and in this case, most of the people inside were safe and sound. Sure enough, after the smoke cleared, Goku stood there naked, with a shocked expression on his face. Isn't it? The Turtle School Qigong plus Lion's Roar Gong only blew up the clothes. Is this the main character? Li Shu, who saw the result, was also dumbfounded. The moment he saw Wukong's little bell, the host hurriedly shouted, "The game will be suspended first. Monkey King, do you still have spare clothes?" "No, I don't." Wukong scratched the back of his head honestly, looking harmless to humans and animals. At this moment, the shocked Klin came back to his senses and took off his clothes to Wukong, and he changed into the clothes he had worn when he was at the Shaolin Temple. The game started again. "Big brother, you're so powerful when you're serious," Wukong said to Li Shu. "But I'm not weak, I'm going to use all my strength." Li Shu looked at Wukong solemnly. Except for the fact that the void dance technique had not yet been used, he had already exhausted his means. The next battle will be a fierce hand-to-hand combat. Li Shu took a deep breath and was mentally prepared to enjoy the ultimate pain. The two brothers glanced at each other, and they both saw the strong fighting intent in each other's eyes. Both of them disappeared in place at the same time. Gone. Both are gone. The host held the microphone in shock, looked around the ring, and finally found a trace in the air. "Look, everyone." In the sky, the two of them jumped into the air at the same time. However, the host's gaze obviously couldn't keep up with Wukong and Li Shu's movements. At the moment when the host looked at the sky, the air battle between the two was over, and they fell to the ground and beat each other violently. The movements of the two fighting were extremely fast, leaving one afterimage after another, and the sound of fists and feet colliding was deafening. Although the movements of the two people could not be seen clearly, under the host's explanation, the audience still watched with relish. The battle soon became white-hot, the sky gradually darkened, and a full moon quietly hung in the sky. Li Shu, who is no longer afraid of pain, is becoming more and more courageous at this moment, not falling behind at all, and even faintly has the momentum to suppress Wukong. Seeing that he couldn't attack for a long time, Li Shu's eyes flashed, and he began to implement the plan that had been formulated a long time ago. What does it smell like and why is it so fragrant? After a long battle, both of them had consumed a lot of physical strength, and at this time, an enticing aroma of meat wafted in, instantly hooking Goku's hunger. Grunt, grunt, his stomach made a hungry sound of resistance, and Wukong subconsciously looked at Li Shu's right leg, and it was here that this tempting smell of meat came from. It was such a distracted look that made Wukong show a flaw. Li Shu seized the opportunity, and with an uppercut, he directly knocked Wukong away. Li Shu, who was about to take advantage of the victory and chase after him, knocked Wukong directly to the outside of the field, suddenly saw the full moon in the sky, and a violent force awakened in his body, causing it to suddenly change color. Li Shu hurriedly staggered his gaze to look at Wukong, only to see that Wukong's body began to expand rapidly, and his vigorous hair was growing wildly. In an instant, it transformed into a terrifying and hideous giant ape, its huge body occupying half of the ring. This terrifying scene stunned everyone. How could they still transform into gorillas? The audience with a bewildered face looked confused. "Big brother, I thought I was going to lose, but I didn't expect that today was a full moon, but fortunately the transformation was timely, hee." Wukong, a giant ape, let out a hideous laugh out of his mouth. "Hey," Li Shu sighed. Although with his help, Wukong would not lose his mind and run wild after transforming into a giant ape, but once he transformed into a giant ape, unless his physical strength was exhausted, or he was dying and seriously injured, or cutting off his tail, or destroying the moon, otherwise the transformation of the giant ape would be irreversible. In other words, neither he nor Goku is currently able to terminate the state of the giant ape's transformation on their own. Big brother, won't you change your body? Goku said excitedly. Li Shu didn't want to transform. After all, there were so many people watching at the scene. The giant ape's transformation was about to burst his clothes. Once the transformation was over, he was meticulous. Wouldn't that giant dragon have to be displayed in the limelight? Even with a skill like Cheeky LV1, it's hard to hide his shame. However, there are some things. It's not that you don't want to. You cannot do it. Looking at the combat power above the head of the giant ape Wukong, Li Shu is very desperate. Combat strength 830. Transform into a giant ape, and your combat power has directly increased tenfold. How can you fight without moving? Do you really want to learn from the turtle fairy in the original book and destroy the moon? Li Shu quickly gave up this idea, and with his current turtle sect Qigong skills, he was not able to destroy the moon to the extent. It's really frustrating. Li Shu couldn't help it, looked at the full moon, and began to transform into a giant ape. Li Shu, who has transformed into a giant ape, has reached 945 in combat power. With the improvement of the Eye of Fighting, he no longer needs to look in the mirror to see the combat power above his head. 945. Li Shu was a little surprised, and hurriedly did an extremely difficult math problem in his heart, which ordinary people can't calculate. 945 divided by 78.75 equals 12. Li Shu, who got the result, instantly understood that his Saiyan bloodline was one level higher than Wukong's, so the increase in combat power after transforming into a giant ape was twice as high. At first, Li Shu was still a little worried. After all, Wukong's basic combat power was higher than his own, and the gap between the two would be widened after the transformation. Now it seems that after the transformation, I have the advantage. Looking at the giant ape Wukong who occupied the other half of the ring, the giant ape Li Shu couldn't help laughing wildly and directly punched out. With the huge bodies of the two of them at the moment, as long as they take 2 steps back, they will fall out of the field. In other words, in such a limited space, it is difficult for them to make too big a move, and what will happen next will be a real power contest. Facing the bombardment, fists to the flesh, there can be no slightest concession. The spectacular scene that ordinary people can't see in their lifetime makes the audience's blood boil. For the Earthlings living in the Dragon Ball world, they can get along with animal people day and night and get married and have children, and it is not difficult for them to accept that 1 or 2 humans can transform into gorillas. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? The host shouted excitedly. At the end of our finals, it turned out to be a competition between 2 giant apes. It seems that the giant ape that Li Shu turned into is even better. The giant ape Wukong was beaten and retreated. Can't go back. Goku players can't be retired anymore. If you retreat, you will have to quit the field. The giant ape Wukong naturally knew this, but the Li Shu of the giant ape made Wukong feel a huge pressure. Whether it is in terms of momentum or strength, you have to suppress him. Even in the blood flowing in his body, he could feel that inexplicable pressure, causing the flow of qi and blood in his body to be not as smooth as before. If the qi and blood are not smooth, the strength will not be smooth. This is also the reason why the giant ape Wukong showed his decline after a few moves. If Wukong and Li Shu had the same education, they would definitely exclaim, bloodline suppression. And the 4 words of inability to describe his mood at the moment. Li Shu never expected such a result. He had known that this would have been the case, and he would have chosen to change his clothes from the beginning to avoid the pain of flesh and skin. It really hurts. Just when Li Shu thought that he was sure to win, an accident happened. At this moment, Li Shu finally realized the villain's mood when fighting against the protagonist. It was really a big ups and downs, and there were waves of unevenness. I saw that Wukong, the giant ape who was about to withdraw from the arena after being punched, suddenly had a red light in his mouth, and it converged at an astonishing speed. Roaring, Wukong roared, and a wave of red light surged. Fueled by this light wave, his feet were rigged into the ring, avoiding the result of falling off the court. And the red light wave directly hit Li Shu's face, almost knocking Li Shu's head off. Under the severe pain and impact, Li Shu fell straight behind him. Chapter 31. Down. The giant ape Li Shu has fallen. Are you going to decide the winner? The host yelled excitedly. Everyone watched intently. I'm really convinced. Li Shu was a little panicked, thinking that he would win, but he was about to overturn at the last moment. With such a huge body, as long as he falls to the ground, he will inevitably fall off the field, and if he wants to use his hands as support to avoid falling to the ground, he will inevitably support himself outside the field, and Li Shu has no choice for a while, and his eyes are full of regret looking at the full moon in the sky. Suddenly, Li Shu had a flash of inspiration, thought of a way to break the game, and his eyes lit up suddenly. At the moment when everyone thought that Li Shu was going to lose, they saw that he suddenly let out a cry of pain, and he actually cut off his tail, and his huge body quickly shrank. However, under the effect of the immortal body, the severed tail was soon automatically connected again, and the shrunken body instantly began to swell again. However, at the moment when Li Shu shrank, he quickly stood up with his hands on the ground, and due to the shrinking of his body, the ground supported by his hands was still in the ring, and he resolved this inevitable situation without danger. It's dangerous. The giant ape Li Shu grinned and looked at Wukong again. The giant ape Wukong opened his mouth wide and looked at this scene in shock. He thought that he had won and had no way to be pulled back by his eldest brother. Go on. The giant ape Li Shu attacked again, and this time he was ready to prevent the same thing from happening again. The two giant apes bombarded each other again. This time the giant ape Li Shu was on guard, under the double suppression of the power of the bloodline and combat effectiveness. In the complete power competition, the giant ape Wukong was not an opponent at all. Although it is inferior to the giant ape Li Shu in terms of strength, the willpower of the giant ape Wukong is extremely tenacious, and he persevered so hard that he persevered for almost 1 hour. It wasn't until the battle was exhausted that the giant ape Wukong was kicked by the sidekick of the giant ape Li Shu, and he fell to the ground with a bang, and there was no movement for a long time. After a few moments, it quickly shrunk and returned to its human form, but it was already asleep. Li Shu was also tired at the moment, and he completely relied on willpower to support him, and this battle almost squeezed out all the strength in his body. The last kick looked ferocious, but in fact, there was not much strength, but for Satoru, who was also exhausted, it was like the last straw that broke the camel's back. In other words, if this final blow is delivered by Goku, then it must be Li Shu who falls. Winner of the final, Li Shu. The host yelled excitedly. Li Shu glanced at the host who was still passionate, and his heart was full of admiration. He deserved to be the strongest host in Dragon Ball, and he was still so passionate after being like this. With the announcement of the host and the sound of the system's voice, the dust has finally settled. Li Shu finally let go of the breath in his heart, and the whole person instantly went limp to the end, and fell asleep. He was so tired, he was too tired to be too tired to hurt. He didn't bother to listen to the sound of the system's reward, he just wanted to get a good night's sleep. As soon as his eyes closed and opened, a day passed, and Li Shu saw a pair of beautiful big eyes at first glance, looking at himself with admiration. Boomer. Li Shu was a little confused. What kind of expression is this? He swore that he didn't think anything of Bulmar, and that he respected Prince Vegeta as well. In the future, he will definitely become good friends with Vegeta, as the so-called friend's wife can't be bullied. He is a crosser with a bottom line. Li Shu, you're finally awake, Boomer said with wide eyes. Li Shu was silent, counting this side. He had only met Boomer 4 times in total, and the relationship was not so good. Boomer's self-familiarity made Li Shu a little unbearable, but when he thought that Boomer was a face control, Li Shu was relieved. After all, he still had 100 million handsome. Coupled with his own charm on the stage, that charm is indeed easy to win Boomer's heart. Thinking about it, Li Shu suddenly remembered something, and hurriedly looked at himself, and the whole person suddenly felt bad. Why am I wearing women's clothes? Li Shu asked in a deep voice. Oops. Boomer's cheeks were slightly red and he said, you and Wukong didn't have any clothes at the time, and I only have women's clothes here, so I had to settle for it first. You dressed me? Li Shu asked in amazement. Boomer said embarrassedly, yes. Quote. What about the turtle immortals? Li Shu fiddled with the bag skirt, which was very inappropriate, and always felt cold. They're eating at a restaurant. Saying that, Boomer then laughed and said, I'm kidding you, it was the old man of the turtle fairy who changed it for you. How embarrassing as a girl. Li Shu suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. his thinking is still very traditional. If his big baby is seen by a girl, how will he behave in the future, and how will he find a partner? Can you buy me a men's outfit? Li Shu couldn't help asking. It's been ready for a long time, you can change it yourself, I'll wait for you outside. With that, Boomer took out a set of men's clothes and put them on the bedside, and turned to go out. Looking at Boomer's shadow, Li Shu had a little headache. It was obvious that Boomer was interesting to him. To be honest, Boomer is very beautiful, and his figure is also very good. It is indeed his favorite type, and among the 5,000 tea learning materials in Li Shu's previous life, one tea of them is about Boomer. It's hard for him to hold on. Proud Prince Vegeta, I can only promise that I won't take the initiative, you come quickly, and we will see you in the future. Li Shu quickly changed his clothes and came to the hotel with Boomer. Along the way, Boomer has been looking for topics to talk to herself, and Li Shu wants to ask her, you and Yamcha haven't broken up yet, have you? But with the words in his mouth, he swallowed them back. Soon the two came to the restaurant, and as soon as they entered the door, they saw Goku eating big chicken legs. Combat Power 99. The Saiyan bloodline is strong, and this battle will directly skyrocket by 15 points of combat power. Li Shu sensed his combat power again, and it turned out to be the same as Wukong, and it also reached 99 points. It is about 6 points higher than Goku's rising combat power. This result indirectly proves that his guess about the Saiyan bloodline level increase is correct. Big brother, come and eat. Wow, it's all delicious. Wukong hurriedly greeted, not feeling bad at all because of the victory or defeat in the final. Li Shu smiled and nodded, he was indeed hungry, and unceremoniously joined the battle at the dinner table. Under the full output of the two big stomachs, the hotel owner and waiter directly shocked the urine. That table actually ate all the ingredients they prepared today. The key is that these two people still look like they are still unfinished and have not eaten enough. Come on, come on, come on Wukong, eat big brother's legs. Li Shu snapped, took out a 2-meter-long dinosaur leg, and hugged one with Wukong and gnawed wildly. Wow, big brother, why can't you eat your dinosaur legs? As soon as I ate a piece of meat, it grew on its own. Goku exclaimed as he ate. Li Shu haha laughed and said, this is a dinosaur leg with divine power, I can't eat it no matter how I eat it, and I got it by accident, big brother. Quote. Divine dinosaur legs. The turtle Immortal and the others looked at it in shock. It was unbelievable, but they quickly accepted this fact. I have to admire the receptivity of humans in the Dragon Ball world, it is simply invincible. After everyone was full of food and drink, the turtle Immortal asked Li Shu, the champion, to treat him, and Li Shu naturally did not shirk it. His current financial resources were still very good. Didn't you eat 500,000 yuan in one meal? He can afford it. However, Boomer paid the bill first, which made Li Shu, who had been influenced by the table culture in his previous life, feel very faceless. But he glanced at the people around him and found that everyone didn't seem to feel this way, so he was relieved, and swallowed back the words he was about to say. At Boomer's kind invitation, everyone agreed to celebrate. At this time, Li Shufeng realized that Boomer seemed to be a rich woman. Ah, Li Shu hurriedly shook his head, the man should be a little reserved. On the way to the karaoke, Li Shu sat in the car and turned on the system to check the championship rewards. The series of reward information shocked Li Shu fiercely. Congratulations, you have obtained the achievement, 10 consecutive victories in the 21st Martial Arts Conference, rewarded with a bottle of Super Blessing Potion and an achievement value of +10. Congratulations, you have obtained the achievement, Champion of the 21st Martial Arts Conference, and you will be rewarded with a bottle of Super Saiyan Epiphany Potion and an achievement point of +15. Congratulations, you have achieved the achievement, Victory is not arrogant and defeat is not discouraged. At the 21st Martial Arts Conference, defeat Sun Wukong head-on. Get the reward, Heart of Battle. Achievement +5. Quote. Congratulations on achieving Iron Will. Under the hundredfold pain of the immortal body, it is admirable that you have been able to fight head-on for so long. Get the reward, Soul of Battle. Achievement +5. Quote. Congratulations, what is the pain of getting the achievement? Under the hundredfold pain of immortal body, you can actually be too lazy to hurt, which is admirable. Get a bonus bottle of Super Painkiller. Achievement +5. Quote. Congratulations, you have obtained the achievement, narrow victory, and you will be rewarded with a bottle of psychic potion and an achievement point of +5. Congratulations, you have obtained the achievement, First Frontal Victory over Sun Wukong, and you will receive a reward Moon Making and your achievement value will be +5. Congratulations, you have achieved the achievement, Hardy. A hardy battle will always benefit people a lot. Obtain the reward Invert Domain achievement value +5. Quote. It's so many rewards. The rich rewards that far exceeded expectations made Li Shu instantly ecstatic, especially the words, 100 times the pawn, which made him pause. Sure enough, as he guessed, in the hidden information of Immortal Body there was an entry for 100 times the pawn. This is also the root cause of his fear of pain, but fortunately, he knows the reason. As long as the level of Immortal Body is raised, this 100-fold pain should slowly decrease, right? Today, Li Shu's achievement value has reached a new high in history, 58 points. Among them, 55 achievement points are given by this wave of achievements, which is simply refreshing. The other 3 points are left over from history. Li Shu didn't rush to give the Immortal Body a boost, in case it would cost 50 points to improve once, then he would be poor again if he just got rich. And it's just a guess, it won't necessarily reduce the pain after lifting, and even if it can really be reduced, the amplitude is estimated to be not too large. Is there a difference between 100x pain and 99x pain? Apparently not, he couldn't feel the difference at all. It's better to ask your father directly, it's economical, affordable, and efficient. Li Shu looked at the few new items in the dimensional storage space. Super Painkiller, take 1 pill, you can avoid pain for 30 minutes. Psychic Potion, when applied, it can give spirituality to the item. Super Saiyan Epiphany Potion, after taking it, there is a small probability of having an epiphany Super Saiyan form. Good stuff, all good stuff. Li Shu was pleasantly surprised again, especially this Super Painkiller which contained as many as 30 pills. It's good that I didn't rashly improve the Immortal Body, otherwise I would have lost my blood. Looking at the bottle of Super Painkiller, Li Shuru was a treasure. Psychic Potion, this function of giving spirituality is very vague, isn't it? What happens when spirituality is given? Mouthful. Li Shu thought for a moment and decided to use the Psychic Potion on the Endless Dinosaur Legs LV4. Maybe he could have unexpected gains. For example, he took the initiative to slice himself and then fed it to his mouth, without chewing, and moved directly by himself, which is very spiritual. Super Saiyan Instant Potion. Li Shu thought about it for a while, and drank it directly. Anyway, he has a way to transform, he doesn't need to rely on external forces, and it doesn't matter if he fails. Congratulations, comprehending the Super Saiyan form. Quote? Li Shu was stunned. Didn't he say that there was a small probability of being good? He was ready to fail, and he succeeded directly. Super Saiyan form, after transforming, the combat power increases by 50 times. Hey. Li Shu was immediately happy. This unexpected surprise was really wave after wave, so he couldn't stop at all. It's good to comprehend it directly, but it also saves some trouble. Li Shu, who was very lucky, couldn't help but look at the Stealth Technique Epiphany Potion. Do you want to give it a try? All at once. After thinking about it, he gave up. He really didn't dare to challenge the probability of the system, and now that the achievement value was as high as 58 points, he decided to increase the Stealth Epiphany Potion by a wave later. After dealing with the item rewards, Li Shu looked at the new skill with anticipation. Moon Making, as the name suggests. The simple and clear technical description can be understood by Li Shu in just 4 words. Very practical skills. You can turn into a giant ape if you want to, and no longer rely on the time of day. It seems that I will have to keep a few sets of clothes on my body in the future, and it would be better if I could have a set of clothes with excellent toughness. Li Shu felt that it was necessary to put this small wish on the agenda, and when the 7 Dragon Balls were collected and the Divine Dragon was summoned, this wish must have a place. Then he looked at the next skill. Inverted Domain, a self-centered domain that radiates out of all living beings with a diameter of 1 kilometer, and all living beings in this domain cannot use the transformation form. Miracle. After reading the description, these 2 words suddenly popped out of Li Shu's mind. This skill is not too easy to use in the Dragon Ball world. In the Dragon Ball world, in addition to pure-blooded Earthlings and androids, other powerful races basically have several sets of transformation abilities. Various forms, the combat effectiveness has increased exponentially, which is extremely exaggerated, and it does not compete with how much weaker the subhumans are. Among the strong enemies to be encountered in the near future, Frieza, Sharu, Majin Buu, etc., which one has mastered 2 or 3 transformation forms. I just don't know that among all these creatures, the package does not include the skill caster himself. Li Shu thought about it and felt that there was a high probability that everyone would be treated equally, and everyone would not be able to transform, otherwise this inverter domain would be too perverted. As for the real situation, we still have to find a chance to confirm it. If you are still able to transform in the realm, then this will be an extremely anti-heaven existence. Find a place where no one is in the evening and give it a try. Li Shu immediately looked at the newly acquired fighting series skills, Heart of Fighting and Soul of Fighting. Sure enough, it's still the same, there is no information to describe it, and you need to explore it yourself. The joy of the harvest faded away, and the group soon arrived at a karaoke. Everyone sang and spent a pleasant afternoon, and their bodies and minds were greatly relaxed. At the end of the song, the group stood at the door of the karaoke and chatted about their respective schedules. I'm going to find Grandpa's relics on the 4 planets, do you want to come with me, big brother? Goku asked. Li Shu smiled, directly took out the 4 planets, and said, I have found it. Quote, this 4-planet is the one he found from a tiger demon a month after he awakened the Eye of Fighting and fell into a coma. Originally, it was still a stone bead, but now after it has cooled down, it has regained its original luster. Wow, it's really 4 planets. Wukong happily took it and looked at it carefully. After being happy, Wukong was a little dazed, and he didn't know where to go for a while. So he looked at the Turtle Immortal and said, Grandpa the Turtle Immortal, I'll go with you to the Turtle Immortal house to continue practicing. The Turtle Immortal's face suddenly changed greatly. No, I have already taught you everything, there is nothing to teach you, and then you need to practice by yourself, I believe you can. Quote, what are you kidding, the gentle blue-haired Renki is still waiting for me at home. The Turtle Immortal still wants to live a beautiful 2-person world with Lan Chi, so he naturally doesn't want to have a few light bulbs to follow him anymore. Teacher Wushan, I also want to continue to practice with you, I have nowhere to go. Kling said the same at the moment. The Turtle Immortal suddenly became numb, looking at the 2 beloved disciples in front of him, he really couldn't refuse anymore, so he could only regretfully agree. At this time, Li Shu suddenly said, Wukong. Grandpa Turtle Immortal really has nothing to teach us, I plan to collect Dragon Balls and fulfill a wish in my heart, would you like to join me? The process of collecting Dragon Balls is also a spiritual practice for us. Quote, wishes, big brother, what do you want? Goku asked curiously. Li Shu coughed dryly and said seriously, I want a wish that is not afraid of pain. Aren't you afraid of pain? What a strange wish. Wukong immediately laughed. The eldest brother was afraid of pain, and then said, then I'll go with the eldest brother to collect the Dragon Balls. Boomer suddenly said hopefully, do you need my help? Quote, no, your strength is too weak, and it will be very inconvenient for you to bring it. Li Shu decisively refused, and the woman would only affect the speed at which he could do the task. Boomer's face suddenly fell, and he gritted his teeth and looked at Li Shu, and the eldest lady's temper suddenly came up, and she snorted coldly, HMPH. Since you don't need my help, return the Dragon Ball radar to me. Quote, Li Shu suddenly wilted, and hurriedly said in a gentle tone, Miss Boomer, I sincerely apologize to you, Dragon Ball radar is already the biggest help, you really don't have to suffer with us everywhere, every day in the wind and sun. I'm actually worried that I'm going to tan your snow-white and delicate skin, which is really a terrible thing. Such a beautiful young lady suffers with us everywhere every day, I really can't bear it, and I ask for your forgiveness and understanding. Is that so? Boomer suddenly became shy, instantly deflated, and said, well, if there is anything you can do to help, feel free to contact me. By the way, do you remember the phone number I left you last time? Boomer hurriedly asked. 123,456,789, I've always remembered it. Li Shu did not hesitate to say Boomer's phone number, and after chatting a few more words, he finally sent Boomer away. In this way, after a short time together, everyone went their separate ways. Somersault cloud, Wukong shouted, and a golden cloud flew over from the sky, and then looked at Li Shu and said, "Big brother, can you stand up?" Quote, "What are you kidding? How can I afford this 5,000 T of learning materials?" Li Shu said solemnly. "Wukong, put away the somersault cloud first, and I'll take you to a place first." The two soon came to the deserted countryside. "What are you doing here?" Goku asked suspiciously. Li Shu smiled slightly, and in Wukong's shocked gaze, he actually rose into the air and floated in midair. Since he didn't care about the development of the original plot, Li Shu didn't plan to hide it, and directly performed the sky dancing technique. "Big brother, can you fly?" Goku was shocked. Li Shu smiled. "Yes, so I don't need to ride the somersault cloud." "Want to learn?" Goku. "Yes." Goku was overjoyed and nodded like garlic. "It's very simple. This is called the dancing void technique. As long as you sense the chi, you can quickly master it." Li Shu organized the language and told Wukong what chi was and how to perceive it. Wukong, who had mastered the turtle school qigong, quickly felt the chi, and after a few minutes, he had already preliminarily mastered the dancing void technique. I saw Wukong staggering off the ground, with a happy smile on his face, and after flying a few times, Wukong's grasp of chi became more and more proficient, and he was already flying very steadily. This made Goku very happy, and he flew faster and faster. Being able to fly by himself and flying with somersaults are completely two experiences, and Wukong is like a child who has gotten a new toy, flying around in the sky and playing. I even called the somersault cloud, and wanted to try it out with the somersault cloud to see who could fly faster. At the same time, Li Shu suddenly had a ding sound in his mind, which made him a little stunned. "When will the system sting?" Ding. "Congratulations, you have obtained the hidden achievement, Advanced Sky Dance. With your intervention, the original plot trajectory has found subtle changes, and Goku has mastered the Sky Dance in advance. Such a bold act is admirable. Obtain the reward Flying Buff Achievement Points +6. Quote. Flying Buff increases flight speed by 10%. Hidden Achievements. Li Shu noticed this subtle change. "The last time I got the hidden achievement, I was at Nobi Bear's Burning Bird shop, where I helped Nobi Bear subdue a legendary dinosaur cool and obtained a bottle of Invisibility Epiphany Potion and still haven't been willing to use it." Now that he has obtained a hidden achievement, in contrast to the two, Li Shu vaguely feels as if he has found a pattern. Cool Dragon is not in the original book, it was discovered by accident. Teaching the Monkey King dancing technique in advance has changed the original plot development. From this, the way to trigger the hidden achievement is clearly visible. Method 1. Contact characters who have not appeared in the original book, improve favorability, and have a probability of triggering. Method 2. Change the behavior of the original plot. After Li Shu wrote down these 2 points in a small notebook, he took out the Dragon Ball radar and looked at it, then took off to Goku, saying, "It's time to set off, Goku." Quote. Red Ribbon Corps Headquarters Command Center. Report to the Commander-in-Chief. Dragon Ball radar has detected a new signal. Quote. Oh, a short middle-aged man, leaning on the boss's chair, with a pipe in the corner of his mouth, and a black blindfold in his right eye, crossed Erlang's legs and asked in a good mood, "In what direction?" Quote. Report Marshal. The display is in the direction of Papaya Island, and it is rapidly moving towards our branch Masruda, and the opponent's aircraft is very fast. Quote. Papaya Island. I heard that the world's first martial arts tournament has just been held there. Colonel Saruba, with red hair, had a disdainful smile on his face. He continued. This Dragon Ball is very likely to have been brought by contestants from all over the country, and now that the competition is over, they will also set off and return. Quote. Masruda direction. It seems to be a martial artist living in the north. The smile on Colonel Saruba's face was even more disdainful, and he said playfully, "I'm very interested in these martial artists." Quote. Commander-in-Chief, let me go. Colonel Saruba recommended himself, and his face was full of confidence. You must know that in his usual training, he is an existence that fights 10, and the elite soldiers in the Legion are all beaten by him, and he has absolute confidence in his own strength. The #1 martial arts conference in the world, that kind of one-on-one fighting, and the use of weapons is not allowed, which is a joke in his eyes, and he completely disdains to participate. He thought that if he participated, he could easily win the championship. Marshal Black looked at Colonel Suruba with a confident face, and said with great satisfaction, "Colonel Suruba, then send you to get our Dragon Balls back." Quote, "As you wish, Commander-in-Chief." Colonel Suruba turned around and left in a dashing manner, took a group of his men to sit on the fighter plane, and flew in the direction of Papaya Island. "Wukong, you have to stand and fly, like me." Li Shu glanced at Goku, who was flying on his stomach, and he decided to change the habit of everyone in Dragon Ball flying on his stomach with his own strength. Wukong looked at the eldest brother suspiciously, and only then did he react. Why did the eldest brother stand and fly? But he didn't think much about it, and tried to fly standing for a while, but soon said, "Big brother, it's not as comfortable as flying on your stomach when you stand up." Quote, "But handsome," Li Shu explained disapprovingly. Handsome. Goku didn't quite understand this explanation, but at the strong request of his eldest brother, he finally chose to fly standing up. But soon Wukong called the somersault cloud, sat on it, and said with a smile, "Big brother, it's pretty handsome to sit and fly." Looking at Wukong's mount, a flash of envy flashed in Li Shu's eyes. If you want to say the most handsome way to fly, it is naturally the flight of the sword or the flight of a handsome and mighty mount. Thinking of this, his heart suddenly moved, and he thought of that psychic potion. I saw Li Shu take out the dinosaur leg, and took out that psychic potion, and under Wukong's curious gaze, that psychic potion was evenly smeared on the dinosaur's leg. Ding! Congratulations, psychic success. Quote, "Endless dinosaur legs LV4. Variety, renewable edible spirit weapon. Ability 1, can be attached to the leg. Ability 2, can stimulate the enticing aroma of meat. Ability 3, spiritual ability 4, sky fighting ability. 5, increases combat power by 5% after equipping. Exclamation mark. Spirituality. Li Shu was ecstatic, and Wukong was very easy to understand, but the word spirituality made him a little confused, it was too general. However, Li Shu was not dissatisfied, but was a little happy, and it was good to be general. He now understands that the more general descriptions there are, the greater the potential and the greater the ceiling. Just as Li Shu was pondering, Wukong bit down on the dinosaur's leg, and the tempting fragrance was too gluttonous. Thinking that something happened that Li Shu and Wukong didn't expect, the dinosaur's legs actually moved on their own, avoiding Wukong's gnaw. At this moment, Li Shu actually felt a wave of emotion on the dinosaur's leg, as if to say, "I won't give it to you." This is spirituality. Li Shu was a little surprised, this was too spiritual. However, Li Shu was not satisfied with this, his ultimate goal was to fly with his legs. He wanted to see if the ability of the dinosaur's legs to resist the sky after channeling could be achieved. "Big brother, you dinosaur legs are Yukai. It's all ripe and you can move on your own," Goku exclaimed as he rubbed his chin to relieve the toothache from his bite. Hey, Li Shu laughed and said, "Wukong, you are optimistic, the eldest brother will show you a handsome one." Wukong's eyes quickly widened and he watched without blinking. I saw Li Shu throw the dinosaur's legs into the air, and said silently in his heart, "Do you see the yellow cloud next to you? You will be like that cloud, holding me flying." At the same time, he whispered in his mouth, "Go." Something that made Li Shu excited happened. The dinosaur leg actually understood his heart, and flew to his feet with a whoosh. Is this spirituality? Cow pie. Li Shu yelled in his heart, "It's too good." What is Edgeworth's flight? Lao Su flies with royal legs. It's still a dinosaur leg that is scorched on the outside and tender on the inside. Who else? Li Shu's mood is very good, just like Wukong, who has just learned the art of dancing the sky, flying around in the sky, having a lot of fun. Big brother, why do roasted dinosaur legs fly? Is it really a Yukai? Goku chased after him and asked. What words? What are you talking about? Li Shu explained dissatisfiedly. This is the spiritual weapon that your eldest brother and I refined. Quote. Spiritual weapons. Goku said he didn't understand. Li Shu said patiently, it's a weapon with spirituality. Just like your wishful stick, isn't your stick able to grow bigger and smaller on its own? Quote. Oh, saying this, Wukong understood. He took out the Rui stick and took a bite, almost breaking his teeth. He said with a bitter face, "Why can't I eat my spiritual weapon?" Quote. Li Shu sat cross-legged on the dinosaur's lap, took out the Dragon Ball radar and looked at it, and took out a world map to compare. According to the map, the location of this Dragon Ball is located in the northern part of a village called Masruta around Zinger. Masruta, the village of Zinger. What is this place? Li Shu looked thoughtful, trying to recall the memories of Dragon Ball 20 years ago in his mind. After thinking about it for a long time, he didn't think about it. However, he remembered one thing: according to the development of the plot, it should be the plot of the Red Ribbon Legion at this stage. Future androids 17 and 18 are from this legion. It seems that one of the doctors in this legion, the android that has been researched, should you slaughter this doctor in advance? A proper hidden achievement. Li Shu pondered again, but quickly rejected the idea, which would have ruined all the achievements of Android 17 and Android 18, which was a bit more than worth the loss. Another Dragon Ball signal appeared. Quote, looking at the location of the new signal on the Dragon Ball radar, it was not very far from their location. It was in a small town near the wilderness. Goku, turn around, there's a new Dragon Ball signal over there. At the same time, not far from Li Shu and the others, Colonel Saruba sat on a fighter jet and listened to instructions in wireless communications. Colonel Saruba, the Dragon Ball radar has detected a new signal, and we found that the signal we tracked before is also heading over there. The Commander-in-Chief ordered you to bring back these 2 Dragon Balls. Received. Rest assured, the task is guaranteed. The corners of Colonel Saruba's mouth turned up, revealing a confident smile. In the wilderness town, Li Shu and Goku find a no-man's land and follow the guidance of the Dragon Ball signal to walk towards the goal. This is it. Li Shu stood at the door of a grocery store, looked at the signal on the Dragon Ball radar again, and confirmed it. At this moment, the grocery store owner walked out and greeted him very warmly. "What do you need, sir?" the boss asked with a smile. "Combat strength 5." Li Shu glanced at it. It turned out to be a Battle 5 scumbag, and then said bluntly, "Have you ever seen a yellow bead? There are also a few small red stars inside the beads." Quote, since the Dragon Ball radar shows that this is here, then the Dragon Ball must be here. If the boss is willing to sell, then everyone will be happy. If he plays yin, then he will be happy alone. He will use some extraordinary means, and he is determined to win Dragon Ball. "You mean Dragon Ball?" The boss thought for a moment, as if he remembered something, and asked with a smile. "Oh, do you know Dragon Ball?" The boss's answer made Li Shu a little surprised. Not many people know about Dragon Ball, but the boss of this wilderness town actually knows. The boss still looked smiling, and said, "That's a legendary treasure. I heard that as long as you collect 7, you can fulfill any wish. I also sold it to me by a homeless man by chance, and I spent a lot of money. Later, I asked around and learned about the legend of Dragon Ball, but I didn't believe that there would be such a magical thing in the world." Looking at the boss's gushing appearance, Li Shu lost his patience and said bluntly, "Isn't it just to sell for a good price? Just say how much it is." Quote, The boss laughed a few times and said, "Sir, please, the price is negotiable. Let's take a look at the goods first." Li Shu did not hesitate and followed, and the boss went to get the Dragon Ball, and said, "The material of the Dragon Ball is very peculiar. I have never seen it. Even if there is no legendary story, it is a rare treasure, so I will buy it. Originally, I didn't want to sell, but I just bought it to collect, and since the boss came for this, I had to cut my love." After speaking, the boss held a beautiful box, walked up to Li Shu and handed it over. Li Shu took the box and opened it. His eyes suddenly lit up, but he soon showed a strange look. Wukong also looked at it curiously at this time, and said in surprise, "Big brother, it's really Dragon Ball, or the 4 planets." Quote, 4 planets. Wukong immediately reacted and muttered, "How can there be 2 4 planets?" Li Shu looked strange, took out the Dragon Ball again and confirmed it. "It really shows that it is here. How can there be 2 4 planets?" But soon Li Shu realized that something was wrong. The weight of the 4 planets was very light, and the luster on the Dragon Ball did not look very bright. "When I touched it carefully, it felt very wrong, like polished glass. The most important thing is that the 4 planets on his body are absolutely real, and among the 7 Dragon Balls, it is impossible for 2 to be the same. In other words, the 4 planets in front of you are definitely fake, but the Dragon Ball radar clearly shows that there is a Dragon Ball here. What went wrong? Thinking of this, Li Shu's eyes couldn't help narrowing, and he asked quietly, "Boss, how much?" The boss also heard Wukong's muttering. He was still a little worried at first, and he was ready to say something in his heart, but when he heard the other party say this, he immediately said with a smile, 500,000, I received 500,000 at the time, and I didn't earn a penny. 500,000, so cheap. Li Shu didn't say a word, he took out 500,000 and handed it over. The boss was stunned for a moment, and suddenly regretted it in his heart. This is shouting less, I knew to shout more. But at this point, he couldn't sit on the ground and raise the price, so he had to pretend to cut meat and sell it to Li Shu in pain. However, after Li Shu got the beads, a smile appeared on his face and asked, "Boss, we have a rule there, if you fake one pays 10, I don't know if you have such a rule here." Quote. Huh. The boss was shocked, and suddenly had a bad premonition, and hurriedly said, "Sir, we don't have such rules here, and we are not responsible for leaving the cabinet." That's right. Li Shu sighed and asked again, "Do you still have Dragon Balls here?" "I asked for it, the same price of 500,000 pieces. All of them." When he heard this, a flash of greed flashed in the boss's eyes, but he was quickly suppressed by reason. He had already seen that the guy in front of him was not easy to mess with, and he just wanted to send the other party away quickly. So he smiled bitterly. "Sir, I also received one by luck, I really don't have it, why don't you go to another place to see?" "Boss, I advise you not to be ignorant, I said you have here, that is, there is." Li Shu's eyes were cold, and he threw the fake Dragon Ball in his hand to the ground, which was immediately torn apart, and said with a cold face, "Did you take it out yourself? Or do I beat you up a few times and then you take it out?" Quote. Li Shu's sudden move startled both the boss and Wukong. Wukong, who was not very smart, even looked at the broken Dragon Balls on the ground and exclaimed, "Grandpa." Wukong, "Don't Grandpa, there can only be one of the 4 planets, his one is fake, he is deceiving us." Li Shu stared at the boss sharply, and said without looking back. At the same time, he threw the real 4 planets to Goku and said, "When the real Dragon Balls sense other Dragon Balls, they will emit light, which means that there must be other Dragon Balls here." This sentence is for Wukong, and at the same time, it is also for the boss. Goku recalls the last time he collected the Dragon Balls, and the Dragon Balls did have such a reaction when they were close to other Dragon Balls. At this point, Goku finally realizes that they have been deceived. Wukong looked at the boss with an angry face, and said angrily, "You are so hateful, my prize for participating in the runner-up of the martial arts club is only 500,000, and I was all cheated away by you." Quote. That's right, this 500,000 Li Shu is Wukong's money. The boss looked at the 4 planets shining in the other party's hands, and was immediately stunned. If he had known, he should have given them another Dragon Ball. Wait a minute. The boss had an idea, and even shouted angrily, "I'm also a victim, I'm going to find that homeless man now." With that, the boss pulled out a pistol and was about to go out angrily. Hearing the boss's explanation, Goku's anger immediately subsided, and he looked at the boss in shock. "Is that so? Then take us to the homeless man." Li Shu sighed, covering his forehead speechlessly, and was really moved to cry by Wukong's innocence. Just as Li Shu was about to stop the boss and teach him a good lesson, the door opened from the outside. I saw a group of heavily armed soldiers rushing in and pointing their guns at them, led by a red-haired man with a proud face. The boss was taken aback by this battle, his legs suddenly weakened, and he staggered backwards. Compared to the group of heavily armed soldiers in front of them, the 2 guys in the back, one big and one small, looked much cuter. "Oh, there are 3 people." Colonel Saruba twisted his neck, looked back and forth over the 3 of them, and asked, "Who is the Dragon Ball?" Opening square bracket. Combat power. 20. Li Shu glanced at the red-haired man. The 20 points of combat power made him extremely relieved. This is a scum that even Yamuti can't beat. As for those soldiers, they are all scumbags of war, so there is nothing to worry about. At his place, the boss betrayed Li Shu in an instant, and quickly distanced himself, for fear of being implicated. Li Shu sneered and pouted. "He also has one." "I didn't." "Don't talk nonsense." "Not me." The boss shook his head in a panic. he couldn't care about the situation in front of him so much, nothing was more important than his own life, and hurriedly said, "My Dragon Balls are all fake, don't believe me to show them to you." With that, the boss hurriedly climbed onto the shelf, picked up a wooden box, and opened it in front of everyone. Goku's eyes widened suddenly, and he was stunned by the scene in front of him, only to see that the box was full of Dragon Balls, from 1 planet to 7 planets, and there were several sets. Li Shu just glanced at it and knew that the Dragon Balls in this box were indeed all fake, and none of them had Dragon Ball induction. Colonel Saruba also couldn't help twitching the corners of his mouth, and then ordered, "You, go and check." "Yes, Captain." A soldier walked out of the queue and immediately checked one by one. "Report to the colonel, it's all ordinary glass balls." Colonel Saruba's face couldn't help but turn cold, and said, "Control this person first, he must have a real Dragon Ball here." The boss panicked and kept explaining, but no one listened to him, which angered the soldier even more, and a rifle butt knocked him unconscious. "It's really noisy." After solving the boss, Colonel Saruba looked at Li Shu. As for Sun Wukong, he didn't pay attention to it at all, just a little kid. "You should have just finished participating in the world's #1 martial arts tournament, right?" Colonel Saruba asked suddenly, not in a hurry to inquire about the whereabouts of the Dragon Balls. Li Shu looked at the red-haired man puzzled, and did not answer this, but asked, "Who are you?" Quote, "Ha." Colonel Saruba sneered and said proudly, "Officially introduce it. Commander of the Silver Team of the Red Ribbon Legion, Colonel Saruba." Li Shu chuckled. It turned out to be Shao Kizan. "What did you say?" Colonel Saruba was immediately furious. They were called the most evil legion in the world, and he was the commander of the Silver Team among them, and they were ridiculed so much. "Are you behind your ears? I know a well-known ear doctor. Would you like to introduce you to him, and you will go and treat your ears first? It's not too late to heal your ears and come back to be a little deflated." Li Shu said disapprovingly. He had already begun to try to brush up some achievements from the other party. One of the laws of achievement, the greater the mood swing, the higher the probability of achievement, which is Li Shu's summary and experience during this time. Colonel Saruba was furious at the moment. Since he became the commander of the Silver Team, no one dared to talk to him like this except for his superiors. He swore that he was going to tear this guy apart. "What is your ranking in the martial arts conference?" Colonel Saruba suppressed his anger and asked coldly. "Champion," Li Shu said with a smile, without the intention of putting the other party in his eyes. "No wonder it's so arrogant." Colonel Saruba's eyes were full of murderous intent and said, "A group of martial artists who have never killed anyone. I am in existence in the army with 1 enemy and 10, now let you see what a real strong man is." After speaking, Colonel Saruba took off his military coat and punched Li Shu. Ding! When you trigger the limited time achievement quest, someone outside of people, please defeat Saluba's faith within 30 seconds, and the quest rewards holographic Dragon Ball radar. Li Shu's eyes lit up suddenly, and his guess was verified again, and emotions were indeed the key to triggering the achievement. Defeat Faith in 30 seconds. The content of the task made Li Shu feel difficult, and it was easy to defeat the opponent, but what should be done to defeat the Faith? Time was pressing. Li Shu couldn't help but fall into deep thought, thinking about countermeasures. As for Saruba's attack, he didn't have time to pay attention to it. Arrogance. Li Shu's contemptuous attitude made Colonel Saruba angry, and in the face of his own attack, someone actually ignored it, which was the biggest provocation to himself. "I'm going to punch you in the head." Colonel Saruba roared angrily and punched Li Shu in the face. Li Shu suddenly gasped. "Hiss. It hurts a little, Colonel." Saruba and the soldiers were dumbfounded and looked at the man in front of them in disbelief. That's the power to blow a punching bag with 1 punch. The man in front of him didn't move. What kind of monster is this? Colonel Saruba's jaw dropped in surprise and he looked at the man in front of him in disbelief. The pain at the joint of his fist made him feel like he was punching the steel. How is this possible? I am a powerful existence that can blow up the sandbag with 1 punch. With just 1 punch, Colonel Saruba felt an unprecedented sense of frustration, and his already strong self-confidence was already on the verge of collapse. Cyborgs. This man must be the same android that Dr. Gro created. His whole body is forged from mimic alloys. Colonel Saruba instantly found an excuse for himself, not that he was too weak, but that the other party was not human at all. Thinking about it this way, Colonel Suruba felt much better. What about androids? It's just that my body is a little harder, and with my fighting skills, I've defeated 3 androids head-on in the android data experiment. Colonel Suruba said coldly, the knife is coming. When a soldier heard this, he hurriedly handed over a sharp long knife respectfully. My long knife is also made of alloy, so let's see if your body is hard, or if my knife is harder. After speaking, Colonel Suruba jumped in the air and slashed at Li Shu's head. There it is. Li Shu finally thought of a countermeasure at this time. There were 20 seconds left before the 30-second time limit, and before the long knife slashed him, he first took a super painkiller. Then the attack of the long knife approached, splitting his upper body in half. Big brother! Wukong screamed in horror, and a strong anger rushed towards the heavenly spirit guy, and he was about to rush up and beat Suruba. At this moment, Li Shu's voice came from the mouth on the head that was split in half. Wukong, don't panic, I just want him to open his eyes. Flesh and blood can also be comparable to steel. Such a strange scene made everyone present stupid. Colonel Suruba's jaw dropped in shock, his eyes bulging, and he couldn't believe the facts in front of him. The viscera that was clearly visible, even if it was split in two, was still beating, and the strange thing was that not a drop of blood flowed out. Li Shu, who was divided in half, smiled, looking very weird, and slapped the stunned Colonel Suruba away. Then he pulled out the long knife stuck in his body, and with a flick of his hand, it was inserted into the crotch of Colonel Suruba's pants, almost scaring him to pee, and his face turned green with fright. At the same time, under the effect of the immortal body, Li Shu's upper body, which was divided into two, returned to normal, and there was no abnormality in the slightest. 1 against 10. Li Shu's gaze at Suruba was full of contempt, and with a wave of his hand, a full moon slowly rose in his hand. Shao Kizan, have you ever seen such a power? Quote. Hex. Colonel Suruba was like a stunned old iron, his fragile heart was hit again, and the fear of the unknown made his body tremble a little. Shoot, shoot, Colonel Suruba shouted, and the frightened soldiers suddenly woke up like a dream, and instantly pulled the trigger. Dense bullets shot at Li Shu and Wukong like a storm. However, the next scene made them feel even more frightened and hopeless. The imaginary image of the enemy being shot into a hornet's nest does not appear, but two rapidly expanding bodies, gradually dilating in their pupils. The bullets struck the two hairy bodies, making a ping-pong sound that didn't hurt them in the slightest. Not even a single hair has been knocked out. Roar! Roar! The two huge giant apes broke through the roof in an instant, exuding a violent and ferocious aura from all over their bodies, like a demon god who was destroying the world and standing up to the sky, and their huge pupils indifferently stared at the crowd below like ants. Looking at the two behemoths in front of them, the soldiers who were full of heart and gall fired a few red quivers, and after seeing that the other party did not hurt in the slightest, they immediately scattered and fled, and became a mess. Colonel Suruba raised his head with empty eyes. He was already frightened and stupid. When he saw the android for the first time, his worldview was shocked to a mess, and he felt that this world was too outrageous. Now, he has finally reconstructed his worldview and accepted this new world, only to see the scene in front of him again. The flesh and blood body is not only invulnerable, but after being split in half, it is still alive and kicking, and it returns to normal in an instant, which is something that people can do. Now that he had transformed into a monstrous giant ape, the mere ferocious aura that he exuded had broken through his psychological defenses, leaving him without any resistance and only wanting to flee this terrible place. When he thought of his previous arrogance and conceit, he felt extremely uncomfortable and ashamed. With a record of 1 enemy and 10, he is proud enough in the Red Ribbon Legion, but in front of the real powerhouse, he is so small and vulnerable. Even the other party doesn't need to make a move, just a wisp of breath can break his confidence and make him break his heart. Colonel Suruba wanted to escape, but under the suppression of this fierce aura, he was too frightened to move. 1 against 10. The giant ape spat out and laughed disdainfully, and then suddenly shouted, "Let you see what is called a husband and a wife. I alone will be enough to annihilate your entire Red Ribbon Legion." In this roar, Li Shu exerted the power of lion's roar. After transforming into a giant ape, its rough and tyrannical voice, with the blessing of lion roar, was like a demonic sound of destroying the world, impacting everyone's hearts and minds pervasively, deafening. Ah, 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 h. The soldiers who fled in all directions covered their ears in pain, collapsed to the ground and bled through 7 holes, writhing and struggling on the ground like maggots. Colonel Suruba was the closest to the great ape and bore the brunt of it, and his pain was several times greater than that of the other soldiers. Not only was he bleeding from his 7 orifices, but the pores of his whole body were oozing blood, and his face was as white as paper after losing too much blood. In addition to fear, there is still fear in the pupils. Li Shu didn't hurt the killer, he only roared for a second, then stopped and launched the inverter domain. I saw an invisible ripple, spreading towards the surroundings, and the bodies of Li Shu and Wukong instantly lifted their transformation state and returned to their original state. Big brother, Wukong looked at Li Shu in surprise. The giant ape transformation was lifted like this. I'll explain it to you later. A touch of disappointment flashed in Li Shu's eyes. He was really within the scope of everyone, and he was also unable to transform. Even if it was the spellcaster, it was difficult to avoid it. It's a long time, but it's only been about 20 seconds. None of this broke his faith. Li Shu frowned slightly, and walked towards the sluggish Colonel Suruba. Don't come here. Colonel Suruba looked at the other in horror, but he had lost even the courage to escape, and could only let out a silent cry, his voice full of supplication. There were only 5 seconds left before the mission time, and Li Shu looked down at Colonel Suruba, his face becoming more and more ugly. After doing so much, is it in vain after all? What do you want to do? Colonel Suruba looked at Li Shu in horror, and bad pictures flashed in his mind. Open your mouth. Li Shu decided to fight for it one last time, and if he really failed, he decided to take Suruba with him and torture him all the time to see if there was any chance of triggering other achievements. As the so-called wealth is not empty, Li Shu has no reason to do it in vain. When fishing in his previous life, if he didn't catch any of them, he had to dig a handful of soil and take it away before leaving. Suruba subconsciously opened his mouth, Li Shu flicked his fingers, and a fairy bean shot out. Swallow it in 2 seconds, or you'll kill your whole family. Li Shu threatened. How dare Suruba resist at this moment? He didn't need 2 seconds at all, and he swallowed it in an instant. He thought that it was some kind of poison, or some evil thing that could control people's hearts, and he was mentally prepared for a tragic fate. It wasn't until with Shandu's lower stomach that his whole body injuries instantly recovered as before, that he looked at Li Shu in astonishment. Is there such a miraculous thing in the world? He knew very well how heavy his injuries were, but at this moment, he recovered in an instant, and his physical condition returned to the peak. However, he has completely lost his fighting spirit, and he has no intention of resisting again, and the gap between the two is like a chasm, which makes him self-aware. The arrogance and confidence that came from it were gone, and only deep fear and awe remained. With such a means of the enemy, he really could not imagine that anyone in the army could defeat the other party. As the other party said, if he wanted to, one person would be enough to destroy the Red Ribbon Legion that he was so proud of. After seeing the other party's methods, he was convinced of it. Ding! Congratulations, complete the limited time achievement mission, someone outside the people, and get the reward Hollow Dragon Ball Radar achievement value +10. Li Shu's frowning brows suddenly relaxed, and a bright smile appeared on his face. The achievement value reward of the limited time achievement task was doubled, which is cool. His achievement value is already as high as 74 points at the moment. Sun Wukong can capture a full-time nanny bike Great Demon King with a fairy bean. Why is it difficult for him Li Shu to capture a Colonel Suruba? The entry of 10 achievement points made Li Shu's mood very good, and Colonel Suruba in front of him was also pleasing to the eye. Why did you save me? Looking at Li Shu with a smile on his face in the sun, Colonel Suruba's spirit was in a trance, and his voice of inquiry was unconsciously gentle. Li Shu put away the smile on his face, looked at the other party coldly, and said, I just want you to go back and report a message, keep the Dragon Balls you have collected, and I will pick them up in 7 days. I'll bring it. Colonel Suruba nodded with a serious face, summoned the jet with the universal capsule and flew away. Ding! Trigger the limited time side check-in mission, and 7 days later, go to the Red Ribbon Legion headquarters to complete the check-in, and the task rewards Universal Booster Box. Quote, Universal Boosting Box. There is a very small probability that the items in the box will be boosted once and can be used once a day. Hint, if the mission fails, the reward will disappear permanently. The probability is very small. Li Shu was speechless. This thing looks very useful, but this probability is like chicken ribs. The 99% success rate is already so terrifying. What kind of experience will this very small probability be? But fortunately, it's free, and you can still experience it. It's a pity that it's not an achievement task, and there is no reward for achievement points, but it's not bad. Maybe one day you will be lucky enough to succeed once. Won't you save a sum of achievement points? Li Shumai was thinking about things, and Wukong walked over, holding a dragon ball that emitted a glimmer in his hand. 6 planets. Li Shu glanced at the boss who was still unconscious, and asked curiously, "Where did you find it?" Wukong pointed to the window and smiled. "It's in the bird's nest under the window, which I accidentally saw when I just transformed into a giant ape." After Li Shu put away the dragon balls, he woke up the boss. Looking at the blue sky overhead, and then at the ruined house, the boss asked tremblingly, "What about my house? I was ruined by the group of people just now. Please look at me. Don't care about these details, okay? Now the crux of the matter is that you sell fakes, and I ask you for compensation." Li Shu patted the boss's fat face and said seriously, "Reparations." The boss collapsed, sat on the ground and cried, "I'm all like this. How do you make me pay?" Li Shu shook his head and said, "I don't care, that's your business. Now it's you who sell fakes, I'm the victim. Either you take out the real Dragon Ball, or you will pay 10 for the fake one, and pay me 5 million. If you don't pay, I'll fight until you pay, you choose." Hearing this, the boss immediately stopped pretending. His crying stopped abruptly, looked around, and asked, "What about the group of people just now?" Quote, "I demolished your house and didn't find the Dragon Balls, so I left," Li Shu said casually. The boss stood up from the ground, patted the ashes on his body, put a smile on his face again, and said meaningfully, "So it's just the two of you now?" Quote, "Yes." Li Shu also looked at the boss meaningfully. "Forget it, big brother, the boss is quite pitiful." At this moment, the kind-hearted Wukong said, "Just give us back the 500,000, that's my hard-earned money." Okay, I'll take the money." The boss reached out and touched his waist, instantly pulled out a pistol, and shot at Li Shu and Wukong. Letting the bullets hit him, Li Shu looked at Wukong and asked, "Do you still think he's pitiful now?" Wukong froze for a moment, then looked at the boss angrily, "You want to kill us?" The boss looked at the two of them in horror. The bullets in the pistol had been shot, and they still kept pulling the trigger, and they were sweating profusely. "You're so disgusting." The angry Wukong rushed forward in an instant, beating the boss into a pig's head before relieving his anger. Li Shu slowly walked to the boss who was sitting on the ground, and asked coldly, "Everyone has to pay for their actions, are you willing to compensate now?" "I pay. Don't hit me again." Tears of remorse flowed from the boss's red and swollen eyes. "Good." Li Shu nodded with satisfaction and said, "In addition to the 5 million compensation for the fake one, there are also the fright fees, mental loss fees, mood swing expenses, medical expenses, etc., which you shot us with a pistol just now, a total of 10 million compensation. Do you have any opinions?" The boss looked at Li Shu in shock, and was so frightened by this sky-high compensation that he couldn't breathe, and fainted directly. "What a nuisance." Li Shu frowned, took out a fairy bean and fed it to the boss. The boss, who had just fainted for a while, woke up in an instant, and his eyes were full of fear when he looked at Li Shu, as if he was looking at a demon walking in the world. Li Shu also saw from the boss's reaction that the other party really couldn't get the compensation of 10 million. In the end, after some bargaining, the boss cried bitterly and took out 7,594,521 yuan and 8 cents and 6 cents in compensation, which was his life savings accumulated after many years of fraud. Seeing that the other party really didn't have much money, Li Shufeng let the other party go and flew away in a dashing manner in the boss's horror. Ding! Trigger the achievement quest ring. Punish rape and eliminate evil. The current progress is 1/300th, the task rewards the title of hero and the achievement value is plus 5,000. Quote. Hero combat power increased by 30%. Quote exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark quote. The sudden sound of the system made Li Shu extremely shocked. It was the first time he had seen such an achievement task. The tempting reward made him salivate, and he wished that the Dragon Balls would not be found, and he would kill 299 treacherous people now. He'd never seen so many achievement points, a whole 5,000 points. He worked hard for 5 years, and only gained a few hundred points in total. And the attributes of the title of hero, which man can withstand such a test? You have to get your hands on it. No hurry, no hurry, the two are not in conflict, there are not a few treacherous people in the Red Ribbon Legion. This sudden surprise really startled Li Shu, and it was the richest reward he had ever seen. The system is rare to be generous once, this face must be given anyway, this mission ring must be completed, and the most evil legion in the world must be destroyed. Li Shumai thought about it, and at the same time wanted to see what the holographic Dragon Ball radar looked like and what functions it had. Why isn't there storage space? Li Shu searched for a long time, but he didn't find it, and he couldn't help but feel a move in his heart. It can't be a skill, right? Sure enough, after opening the skill bar, the holographic Dragon Ball radar was impressively listed. Holographic Dragon Ball radar with a high-definition holographic scene. It displays the specific location of the Dragon Ball, and has a built-in navigation system. Li Shu's heart moved, and he saw a holographic projection light curtain appear in front of him, and the positions of the remaining 5 Dragon Balls were all listed. With this powerful radar range, it is not comparable to the small radar made by Boomer. Li Shu looked at Wukong with some curiosity. Such a large holographic projection light curtain, can't Wukong see it? Only you can see. That's fine, but it also saves you the effort of explaining. Li Shu quickly called up the location of the closest Dragon Ball to them, only to see the radar map quickly zoom in, and a clear picture appeared in front of him. It was a vast world covered in snow and ice, with a tall red tower towering, and around this tower, scattered villages. As that Masruda, it seems to have an impact. The screen changes again, revealing the exact location of the Dragon Balls, in a room at the top of Masruda, being played with by a vicious-looking middle-aged man. The picture zooms in again, clearly showing that the Dragon Ball in the hands of the middle-aged man is a 2-planet. The function of holographic Dragon Ball radar shocked Li Shu fiercely, which is simply amazing. In this way, the Dragon Ball can be used in a real way. Li Shu suddenly had a bold idea in his heart. Thinking about it, I couldn't help but let out a hey 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 laugh. Big brother, what are you laughing at? Goku asked curiously. Li Shu hurriedly came back to his senses and said, it's nothing, I think we need to buy some cotton clothes, the north is an extremely cold place. Wow, let's eat again, I'm a little hungry. Wukong said with a smile, agreeing with Li Shu's proposal. As soon as Wukong said this, Li Shu also felt a little hungry, so he immediately agreed, looking for nearby villages and towns. With the speed of the two of them, they soon found a quiet village, and after purchasing supplies for the winter, the two had a full meal. Under the shocked gaze of the restaurant owner, Li Shu and Wukong actually ate more than 80 people's portions, with a total consumption of more than 500,000 yuan. Welcome to your next visit. The owner of the hotel respectfully saw off the 2 high rollers, and he was in a very good mood. The two of them walked leisurely on the streets of the town, eating after dinner. They didn't walk long before a group of vicious-looking gangsters blocked their way. 2 rice buckets, you guys can eat quite a bit, you can eat more than 500,000 yuan in one meal. The leader was a Scarface, yellow-haired, and constantly playing with a dagger in his hand. When the rest of the town saw this, they hid back in their homes, closing the door tightly, not daring to care about it. The owner of the hotel watched this scene from a distance, and finally gritted his teeth and decided to help the 2 high rollers, despite his wife's repeated dissuasion, and called the police. I'm so angry, what's the use of arresting them? In a few days, it will be released again, and they will take revenge on us. The wife is already a pear blossom with rain, looking at her husband complainingly. The owner of the hotel sighed and said, after all, they are causing trouble by eating here with us, we should help them, besides, if you don't say it, I won't say it, who knows that we called the police. Quote, hey, the wife sighed, her face full of worry. This group of people is a well-known hooligan in the nearby 10 miles and 8 villages, who are lazy, and they are idle all day long, and they don't know how many times they have squatted. But every time I came out, I still didn't change my life, and the police were also very troubled by this group of people. You mean rice bucket? Li Shu looked at the yellow hair in front of him unkindly. What about the 2 of you? Eat 500,000 yuan for one meal, isn't it a rice bucket? Is it a super rice bucket? The yellow-haired group suddenly burst out laughing, and looked at Li Shu and Wukong with ill intentions. Uncle, I'm also hungry, and I also want to experience what it's like to eat 500,000 yuan for one meal. Huang Mao said coldly. If you know each other, just leave the money, otherwise you won't be able to get out of here. Li Shu couldn't help but show a smile on his face. He was really sleepy and sent pillows, and there were 8 of them. Laughing Nima, I think you're looking for death. Huang Mao was immediately enraged by the smile on Li Shu's face, and stabbed him with a dagger. Li Shu didn't dodge. The dagger stabbed at his body and made a steely sound, unable to pierce a single bit. Huang Mao was immediately stunned, and stabbed several times. His hands were numb, and one fell to the ground without holding the dagger steadily. Pick it up. Li Shu's eyes were cold, and he looked at Huang Mao coldly, and there was a majesty in his voice that could not be refused. Huang Mao looked at Li Shu in horror and picked up the dagger tremblingly. Syllable. Li Shu slapped him over. Hold it steady. Huang Mao was very scared now. He looked at the accomplices behind him with a pleading gaze, only to find that the fear on the faces of these people was no less than his own. Keep stabbing until you kill me. In Li Shu's calm voice, he said frightening words. Huang Mao thought that he was a wicked person full of evil, but compared to the real demon, he felt that he was a good person. Under Li Shu's cold gaze, Huang Mao kept waving his dagger, and the tiger's mouth cracked. The remaining 7 accomplices were terrified. They wanted to flee from here, but the man in front of them put too much pressure on them, and their legs were like lead, and they couldn't move, so they could only stand there stupidly and watch. Wukong, if Big Brother kills them, what will you think of Big Brother? Li Shu suddenly asked. Wukong asked strangely, why did Big Brother kill them? Because they are wicked people. If they are let go today, they will continue to hurt more innocent good people. Li Shu explained seriously. Wukong said with a broken head, but they didn't hurt us, huh? Li Shu sighed and patiently explained. If we were ordinary people, would your eldest brother and I have been stabbed to death by him? If that's the case, then they are really hateful. I think it's good to teach them a good lesson, so that they don't dare to be evil in the future. Goku said innocently. Is that what you think? Li Shu said helplessly. Do you know how difficult it is to persuade a wicked person to stop being evil? The most effective way is to slaughter them directly, so that they will never be evil. Wukong thought for a moment, stared at Li Shu with big innocent eyes, and said, Big Brother, if that's the case, won't you become a new villain? Quote. Never mind. Li Shu didn't bother to explain to Wukong, looked at Huang Mao and asked, will you still do evil everywhere in the future? Huang Mao nodded like pounding garlic, and cried bitterly and repented. Big Brother, I really know it's wrong. Please, I really can't kill you. I promise I won't do evil in the future. The other 7 companions were also madly assured by the amnesty, and even took a poisonous oath to promise that they would not dare to do evil again. Big Brother, they know it's wrong, let's go. Goku had an innocent smile on his face. Li Shu didn't bother to pay attention to Wukong. He looked at this group of hooligans, and sneered in his heart, these people are all lying, and when they leave, they will definitely bully the weak to vent their inner fears. The reason is simple. With the admission of these people, the system does not prompt him to complete the task. This shows that this group of wicked people did not change their minds, but forbearance after weighing the pros and cons. Li Shu regretted taking Wukong a little, otherwise he would have killed all these people, and the task would have been easily completed. Write down your home address, as well as the names of family members, close friends, crushes, etc., as long as it is someone you care about, write it all down to me. Since he couldn't kill them directly, he decided to fight evil with evil to complete this task of eliminating evil. As soon as these words came out, Huang Mao and the others' faces suddenly became frightened. Don't want to write. Li Shu's eyes were cold, and with a flick of his fingers, a ray of energy shot out, directly piercing Huang Mao's right leg. Then take one of you first, and then continue to write. Huang Mao clutched his knees, let out a cry of pain, and no longer had the slightest chance to be lucky, and wailed, I write, but there is no pen and paper. The other 7 people also watched this scene in horror, and the timid ones had already peed their pants in fright. Wukong couldn't help frowning. This was the first time he felt that his eldest brother was so strange. Write with pen and paper, can you learn a lesson? Li Shu sneered. Huang Mao's knee is still bleeding. Don't waste it, you can dip that one and write on the ground. Still not writing. Do you feel that there is not enough blood? Seeing that these people were a little hesitant, Li Shu raised his finger and aimed at one of the blue hairs, and a ray of energy shot out, piercing his thigh, and immediately bleeding like a torrent of blood. Such a terrifying thing dispelled everyone's hesitation, and they rushed to the blue and yellow hairs, dipped in the blood flowing from their wounds, and lay on the ground and wrote wildly. They are afraid that the next injured person will be their turn. Big brother, wouldn't this be too cruel? Wukong frowned, not in a very good mood at all. Li Shu sighed and said, Wukong, you look around first. Wukong looked around suspiciously, and found that the doors of every house, which were originally closed, had opened a gap at this moment. There were several figures standing in the gaps, cautiously watching the scene in front of them. Most of their expressions were expressions of relief. If you really can't accept the behavior of your eldest brother, you might as well go around and ask what these wicked people have done to them. Li Shu said patiently. Wukong nodded, and hurriedly ran around to ask. Seeing Wukong walking towards them, the residents closed their doors and windows again in fright. I want to ask, what evil things have they done? Wukong stopped outside the house and asked loudly. Li Shu just glanced at Wukong's side, then withdrew his gaze and re-examined the group of ruffians in front of him. If I find out that any of you dare to do evil, I will kill your whole family, remembering all of your family. Li Shu's demon-like cold voice made Huang Mao and the others tremble uncontrollably. They regretted incomparably now. Why should they provoke this demon in front of them? Doesn't seem to have enough blood. Li Shu muttered, and just as he was about to make a move, a green-haired man hurriedly took out a dagger and shouted, Big brother. We'll figure it out ourselves. I saw that green hair directly gave Huang Mao a knife in the thigh. He hates yellow hair to death now, and he can't wait to kill it. So this blood, he is not soft at all, and he picks and pokes the arteries. Huang Mao suddenly let out a scream like killing a pig, and blood gushed like a spring. Even Li Shu couldn't stand it anymore. He took out a fairy bean and fed it to Huang Mao, and said to the others, You can rest assured, as long as there is still a breath, I can save you. Sure. Enough. The wound on Huang Mao's body suddenly recovered as before, which was like a medical miracle, and it did not bring peace of mind to these people. Instead, there is a deep fear and uneasiness. 5 minutes later, the ground was densely covered with names written in blood, and Li Shu took out his camera to take a picture. It's all real, right? Li Shu asked. Everyone nodded their heads and looked at him in fear. Very good. Then I'll ask you again, will you still do evil in the future? Li Shu asked with a grim expression. Not anymore. The 8 replied tremblingly. However, the system prompt still did not sound. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.